Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With your 2026 WWE Night of Champions Ultimate Preview. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here not only to discuss everything that happened in the world of WWE over the last week, we will be previewing every single match on the WWE Night of Champions card, which of course includes the finals for King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring. Vintage Chris Vanini, your co-host for this version of Performance Enhancing Audio, will be along for the ride momentarily. Before we get to him, Silver King needs to get to this, and that is a reminder that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for
Go
me.
back to being marks for the Silver King, for Vintage, for Getting Over. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You will get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show as well. In the past, we would post pre and post-show polls for premium live events and pay-per-views on social media. We would integrate those into our instant analysis podcast for Night of Champions, of course. That show will be published on Saturday as soon as Night of Champions goes off the air. Unfortunately, the poll functionality basically doesn't work anymore. Twitter has largely hidden it from view, and it doesn't promote it as much as it used to. And we tried doing some polls on our Slack channel as well. I'll tell you how you can join that momentarily. It's a couple dozen people voting, maybe 50. It's not representative of, a larger, perception at, when it comes to both, expectations for a show and then the evaluation of it once it goes off the air. So the long and short of it is this: Vintage and the Silver King, we will continue giving our grades here on the show, but we're just not going to lean into the listener grades anymore because they're so low in number. Maybe we will bring it back for major shows like SummerSlam, see if it is just a factor of, the overall importance of the event, the audience size that is watching. That could perhaps be what it is. But we were getting 150, 250 votes regularly on Twitter. And recently it's been like 15, 38, 47. It hasn't been large in numbers. So it just hasn't been worth the time to do it. That is the state of the polling here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. I did mention our social media accounts. We have a link in the profile for those. You can join our Slack channel and commiserate with the Getting Over heads during all these events and just day to day. It's a great Slack channel. Talks about professional wrestling. There are different individual channels within it for WWE, AEW, spoilers, news. There's a Hey Now channel, but it is extremely respectful, of course. Make sure that you join our Slack, and we have a bunch of other links in those profiles as well, including ways to subscribe to the show, to shop, WWE Shop, Fanatics as well, get us a little kickback. Yeah, follow us and find us on social media at Getting Overcast, and over on YouTube, you can listen to the show. You can also watch full-length video interviews as well. Now, as we kick off this episode, Silver King has been meaning to send a couple shout outs into the universe that I have simply forgotten and not had really time to do over the last few weeks. First, and I am so sorry that I forgot this person's name, but I was riding in an elevator in Madison Square Garden down to the ground level to exit the arena after one of the games of the NBA Finals. And I was hanging with a bunch of workers from MSG because Silver King, after all, I'm a man of the people. Seriously, though, I was riding the elevator. This guy kept looking at me and my credential, only to turn to me right at the end as we were getting off the elevator, introduce himself and say he's a big fan of the show. That was obviously delightful. Great dude. He's a bartender there for a ton of different events. If it was not 1 a.m., I probably would have remembered his name, but it was the last person I expected to see in that moment was a listener and a wrestling fan who somehow recognized me, both from my name and just my face. So it was cool to be recognized randomly in such a setting. Shout out to you, man. Feel free to hit me up on social media or email, gettingoverpod@gmail.com. I want to get your name on the show and give you a true shout out, but it was great meeting you. I also wanted to shout out the folks over at Jumpman, Jordan Brand, who sent Silver King a brand new pair of the Air Jordan 12 Retro Bloodline Edition, the Roman Reigns signature shoe. I have in my closet 3 pairs of Jordan 1s. I have a pair of Jordan 3s that are being delivered from the Knicks championship. I have a bunch of Air Force 1s as well. I've never had any other Jordan in my life. 2, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12. So these are crazy comfortable high tops. I will post some pictures of them later this week. They are available to purchase. If you are someone who wears black sneakers and likes red accents, you can definitely do it. Silver King does not really wear those colors. I'm blue, gray, tan. That's usually what you will see me in. But I do happen to, from a WWE shop sale about, it must have been 2-3 years ago at this point, they sold the honorary Oos shirt, which was black and red, and it was like $8 or $12. So I bought that. So at least I now have shoes to wear with that shirt on the rare occasions I wear something involving wrestling out of the house. And I also lastly wanted to shout out Cubs 2016 WS Champs on Blue Sky. And it's interesting why. Earlier on Monday, Silver King had an assumption that the SmackDown being taped on Tuesday in London was going to air live on Netflix. Therefore, we were going to completely change our schedule this week. We were going to do one show Monday night, another show Tuesday or Wednesday, covering that SmackDown and giving you an ultimate preview for WWE Night of Champions, and then go on with the rest of the week. But as it turns out, despite the show being taped Tuesday in London, it is not airing live on Netflix internationally, and it is not airing, obviously, on USA Network in the United States until Friday. So there was no reason whatsoever for us to shift around the show. He recognized that, told us as much, and we were able to make the correction in time. So Cubs 2016 WS Champs, the dude I met at MSG whose name I don't know, and Jordan Brand, Jumpman over there from the Nike universe. Silver King acknowledges all of you.
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge.
Big acknowledgement right there. Acknowledge.
Not going to hit the news drop today because there's only one extraneous item to cover, but allow me to welcome Vintage Chris Vanini into the show officially. Vintage, the big note here at the start of the program is that WWE Unreal Season 3 will be debuting Tuesday, July 21st on Netflix. There will be 5-hour-long episodes, and while I won't go through the whole list, some notable names featured include John Cena. We'll, I assume, see his retirement run. CM Punk and AJ Lee, Liv Morgan, Trick Williams, and Lash Legend. Obafemi and Braun Breaker, other usual suspects, will be included as well. What I did notice is there's a number of couples that are going to be a part of this season. So maybe they do one episode on like what it's like to be in a relationship or something in WWE. You know, season 1 and season 2 for me of Unreal were quite different. I enjoyed in some ways the detail they went into in season 1. Season 2 really felt like they were just retelling a story to us to get us to believe their version of the truth. I don't necessarily know what to expect from season 3, but it's really the John Cena aspect of it all that is most interesting. Number 1, what do they tell us? Number 2, can we believe what they tell us? And number 3, is it the actual reality?
Yeah, the Cena stuff's most interesting. By the way, congrats to Trick Williams and Lash Legend, who got married over this past weekend. Congrats.
Was that official? I saw a rumor of that. I didn't notice.
That's it looks like people.com has it, and they're the place to go for wrestling weddings in Jamaica. So congrats to them. I think the couple part will be an interesting dynamic. I know we kind of just did that with Seth and Becky. It's more interesting, I think, the show when every story they tell is very different from the other ones. So if we're doing like a lot of couples, is it going to feel repetitive? I don't know. I think you and I both generally like the show, even if we don't always like that they're doing it, and kind of giving us a look in, and you start to wonder what in those creative meetings is real and not. And that's what pro wrestling does, but not surprised they're continuing with it. It's been pretty successful.
I enjoy it from the standpoint of it being additional quality WWE content. I dislike it from the standpoint that it is neither as inside as they promised, nor as realistic as it should be. If you're going to go inside, I'd rather you go halfway deep and give the 100% unvarnished truth than tell us you're going 100% deep and give us 25% of the truth. And that's what they're giving us. It's a kayfabed reality documentary series, which is nothing of what we want. Like, if you want kayfabe to be kept, you don't want this. If you want kayfabe blown up and you just want the unvarnished truth of what's happening in WWE, you're not getting that either. So,
right. Like, people, like, we remember Beyond the Mat in Wrestling with Shadows. Correct. You know, those two documentaries in the late 90s, early 2000s about pro wrestling.
Yes.
And that was a unvarnished look at the good and the bad of all of it. This is obviously very much one side. You get some stuff you didn't get in that, like creative meetings and whatnot, but it is still under the WWE banner, and you have to take that with a grain of salt.
And you're only getting what makes the cut. So, you know, those creative meetings, just taking season 2 as an example, they showed a couple scenes of Road Dogg looking like an idiot, right? It's quite possible that in those same meetings, he threw out 3 ideas that we've loved, that we said, oh, wow, that was so cool that they did. And, oh, that came from Road Dogg, but they don't show us that. They show us him doing that. Chris Parks, the producer, they showed him getting really upset and screwing up and thinking he was going to lose his job. They don't show us all the good stuff he does as well. They're trying to make him a character who's a bumbling dude. Now, maybe he is that. You know, it's tough to know, but we can only see what they tell us. And no WWE superstar who is active, at least, is going to go against the truth the company is trying to deliver to us in the show. Now, if some people leave and retire and eventually do interviews, you know what they said in Unreal, that wasn't exactly the way it happened. You know, that would be interesting. I know LA Knight, for example, was seemingly, we're assuming he was being honest, upset at the way he was characterized in the last season. They showed the screw up and that was real, but he didn't know that was going to make air. He was unaware that was happening. So imagine you're sitting on your couch. Oh yeah, let me put on this thing my company produces. Oh wow, they make me look like an idiot here. Maybe he did make a huge mistake and he deserved internal criticism. Did that deserve to be shown externally to all of us as fans? So, you know,
agree.
They need to hone down this series, and maybe season 3 gets it right. Maybe it doesn't. We will do our best to get an early look at it. And if we can't, we will watch it as soon as we can, and we will evaluate it for you right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Lastly, before we get into this week in WWE, I just wanted to quickly cover what's happening schedule-wise the rest of the week. Thursday's episode is going to be loaded. Not 1 or 2. 3 ultimate previews in one episode. NXT Great American Bash, AEW Forbidden Door, TNA Slammiversary. We normally wouldn't do it for TNA if it wasn't Slammiversary. Plus, I have 3 weeks of AAA to break down. So that's going to be most likely a 90-minute show this coming Thursday. And I got to tell you, AAA, I watched it on my trip back from New York, and I caught up this past weekend as well. Man, these shows are great. Vintage, have you watched the 3 shows after Mascara Contra Mascara, or have you watched any of them?
I have not. I've been in complete World Cup mode. I'm covering a bit of it for The Athletic. I'm watching it every day. It's consuming my life at the moment, and have not been able to get to AAA.
That's completely fair. You haven't missed anything huge yet, and I'm sure we can get you back in before Triple Mania, which of course is in September. Saturday evening, coming out of that Thursday show, we're going to have your WWE Night of Champions instant analysis. And then, given there are 3 shows happening on Sunday, 1 in the afternoon, 2 head-to-head at night, the plan is going to be to do a Great American Bash and Forbidden Door instant analysis come Monday early afternoon. If time allows, Slammiversary will be included there. If not, and I'm guessing not, it'll probably get touched on next Thursday's show. So we're doing 4 episodes in 7 days, one way or another. That's what's happening right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. In terms of WWE this week, brief overview. SmackDown last Friday, Vintage, I thought it was a dreadful show full of rehashed storylines and relationships, repeated tropes. There were 2 injury cells in tournament semifinal matches to excuse losses on the same night. Escape finishes, there were monotony, straight up poor booking decisions on the episode. There were only 7,000 fans in Kansas City, despite there being a world championship match on a show that was not up against the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, or United States World Cup competition. Despite a couple of improved episodes recently, those were in Europe with great crowds. This show felt straight up dead on Friday, and the booking was pathetic. And that's not even taking into account the who in terms of who won matches. That's just the what happened on the show.
Yeah, not a good show for all the reasons that you've said and we'll get into. While the U.S. wasn't playing, Kansas City is kind of, I know, subsumed with World Cup coverage as well. They've got a ton of games there, fans coming in. I don't know if that plays a role. It's not a gigantic city as well, but yeah, very disappointing SmackDown. Raw was better, but kind of a weird way to go into a pay-per-view. And finishing the tournaments up, I think, not on high notes.
Right. That was definitely a part of it. And that's kind of what I wrote down as well. My note for Raw was better, still disappointing. Like, there was an overall lack of star power on this show, and the crowd reacted accordingly. Seth Rollins was the biggest name. He showed up for the final 60 seconds, and you only really saw him in a pre-taped interview during the actual episode. No Roman Reigns or Becky Lynch or CM Punk or additional exciting baby faces like Javon Evans and Sol Ruca. Just a lacking show. I think WWE sold around 14,000 tickets for the O2 Arena in London, which is not nothing. Now, they did like 16,000 plus last year. That was on March 31st on the road to WrestleMania. So this is a mid-June Raw, and they did 14,000. That's not bad. The fans sounded good when they were loud, but they did not get loud as often as they usually do. They didn't do normal chants. Like Bayley was in a title match. They didn't do the Hey Bayley thing. It's really tough to blame them when there was only so much to get excited about in the episode. And that's what we're going to cover here. But yeah, SmackDown, like straight up dreadful show. Raw, disappointing, didn't live up to the overall quality of what they've been giving us recently, despite there still being some high spots, which is more than what I can say about SmackDown. Now, we're going to break down everything that happened across both of these shows. We have your WWE Night of Champions Ultimate Preview coming up in the final slot on this episode. Before we get to all of that, Silver King does need to remind you here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well. For $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You will get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, exclusive news, analysis posts every week. Please sign up, support us, get extra content, but keep the lights on, allow this show to keep running. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. All right, with all that said, let's begin our breakdown of the week in WWE. We're going to kick it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
Now, what's interesting this week is this is actually a one-part main event, but like last week, it is exceedingly long because a ton of stuff happened connecting this one larger storyline across both SmackDown and Raw. We'll kick it off with the WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes defending against Gunther with Sami Zayn as the special guest referee. This opened SmackDown straight away, and it was commercial-free. Interesting that Cody was not in his normal patriotic gear. He kind of looked like Elvis in black with silver and gold rhinestones. It was very odd. Sami pulled him off Gunther early, leaving the champion prone for a boot to the head. Rhodes landed a Cody cutter, but Gunther answered with a figure 4 leg lock, illegally using the middle rope for leverage. Zayn got Gunther off and then correctly called the same rope break spot after a crossroads as Gunther tried at Clash in Italy, but the referee missed, so that was a nice callback. Cody yelled at Sami for doing his job correctly, which was really dumb for a babyface. As it got heated, Zayn inadvertently shoved Rhodes into Gunther, who locked him in a sleeper hold. When Gunther refused to acknowledge a rope break, Sami physically pulled him off Cody and again got shoved for doing his job. And I gotta tell you, as this match was transpiring, Vintage, maybe you can agree or disagree with me. I was watching Sami and I'm like, you know what? He should be a referee. He's actually officiating this match better than the main referees do.
So like the gimmick of special referee often like becomes the story of the match and the match doesn't really get to kind of happen.
Which it was.
But it always means more when that wrestler as a referee does the job.
Right.
Like that's what you're supposed to do. And then eventually when the referee gets involved, it means more. You have to kind of tell that story throughout the match rather than just immediately making the entire thing feel like a farce. And with this opening the show, you're kind of expecting this whole thing to be a farce.
Yes.
So credit to Sami and everybody for kind of starting this out legitimately.
Yeah,
and that plays into his character too, where he's trying to say, I'm the good guy. I'm not going to make a joke of this. I'm trying to do the job because I'm the last real good guy.
There was nothing that he did in this match, and I'm going to keep going with the breakdown, that was inherently heel or face. He played it down the middle as a real referee who took the job seriously. And like, I appreciated that as a viewer, and also even in kayfabe, I appreciated that. You know, if you're going to put a guy in that spot and he's in this in-between role, like, he should be doing the job. That's what you want as a viewer. So as it got heated later in the match, Zayn basically had no choice but to smack Gunther straight across the face.
What is the 5 fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
He ate a powerbomb as a consequence of that. Rhodes landed an avalanche Cody cutter and a second crossroads with a late arriving substitute referee counting 2.5. Gunther came back with a huge shotgun dropkick and a powerbomb stack, but Zayn dragged the replacement out of the ring on the count. Specifically angry at Gunther given the earlier attack, he kicked his hands from gripping the ropes and did a fast count 1, 2, 3 on a sunset flip, allowing Cody to retain the title. Rhodes was obviously perturbed by the finish. Nick Aldis came out to yell at Zayn on the ramp. Gunther followed them backstage. As they all argued in gorilla position, Rhodes stormed into the ring, grabbed the microphone, demanding that WWE restart the match with a real referee. Zayn backstage refused, so Gunther straight slugged him in the face. He charged down the ramp. The bell rang for the third time. Unsurprisingly, once he recovered, Sammy ran in, blasted Gunther with a haluva kick in the corner for a disqualification. Then he punched the referee and, spur of the moment, hit Cody with his own WWE Championship, which he apparently did not intend, but if you watch the clip, he saw his face and then swung the title. The crowd liked this a lot. I mostly, but not entirely, rolled my eyes. We all knew this would be the booking in some form. It became obvious 2 weeks ago that a triple threat was on the menu for Night of Champions. And as I've said before, we should have known that a month earlier. The general booking was not the problem, but rather, for me, the specific creative for the original match. The bits with Sammy as referee were extremely heavy-handed, and they started earlier than midway through the match. So the entire exercise was marred with him being 1/3 of the action, rather than Cody and Gunther wrestling a real match, with Zayn factoring in at the end. Never felt the least bit interested in the actual wrestling. And even that, the wrestling, it wasn't sloppy, but it was rough. Especially for Cody and Gunther, we know they can fight together well. The gorilla position segment and restart, that was more to my taste. It felt like we got a slice of reality in the middle of something that was heavily contrived. And Sammy selling after the DQ, that was strong. So again, the general booking concept was spot on. Zayn's frustration and inability to execute as he planned, that was well done. But at the end of the day, a commercial-free WWE Championship match was advertised for SmackDown. And even though we knew going in nothing serious would happen, it still left me disappointed in the end.
I was mixed on it. Because Sammy's kind of going between good guy, bad guy, but he's just I don't like when the baby faces kind of cheat to win. And it's not like Cody was cheating here, but like Sammy doing this tweener role so Cody gets the win. You don't feel good about Cody winning. You feel bad for Gunther in the moment, kind of, because he did legitimately get screwed here, which I don't think is a feeling you want.
Real quick,
restarting it. And,
would you have preferred a disqualification or no contest? Because I would have.
You mean the first part
first
as opposed to the quick count?
Yeah, the first time.
Yes. Because that's weird or not, it's still Gunther taking another pin loss to Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Which is 3 now, if we're going back to last year's
3
Night of Champions. So I didn't love that. And I did like restarting the match. Cody demanding that, do the babyface thing. You need to do that. Then Sammy coming out again, I just kind of got annoyed by him, but I also think we were kind of supposed to be annoyed by him at that point.
100%.
And so I don't know, like there's parts I liked, there's parts I didn't. I didn't come away with a strong yes or no on this. It was just like a lot.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, that's largely what I said as well. I was just mixed about the entire deal. There were parts that I definitely bought into and I thought they succeeded in achieving. And there were others where it was just like, that was a mess just to get to X, Y, or Z. Gunther was infuriated at Aldis backstage, claiming he again got screwed by the general manager, who is not fit for the job. Aldis reminded that Gunther chose Zayn himself, but the challenger nevertheless demanded another opportunity at Night of Champions. Zayn was back ranting at a catatonic Johnny Gargano later in the show as Candice LeRae again rolled her eyes. Aldis interrupted, screaming at him for his actions in the match. Sammy appropriately yelled back that he was a special guest referee because they asked him to be, and the only reason he got involved physically was that he got powerbombed. He turned it, saying Cody should be thanking him that he's still champion, considering everyone thought he would screw him in the end. No lies detected whatsoever from Zayn. Aldis stood there with his thumb up his ass because the dude literally had no leg to stand on by the time Zayn spoke. I swear, as good of a job as he does as general manager most of the time, over the last 6 months, he has been made to look like an absolute idiot more often than I would like. He was spot on when going back and forth with Gunther. The stipulation Gunther chose bit him in the ass, but how the hell was Sammy the bad guy here? How did Nick miss the powerbomb? Granted, Zayn interfered in the match that got restarted, but he had just been attacked in gorilla position right in front of Aldis. Sammy was given a lot more character breadth than I expected, and it made everything more intriguing. So while he is a heel, he's certainly closer to a tweener than he is a full-fledged bad guy. And I thought this segment was one of the most successful framings of his character that we've actually gotten to this point.
It just feels like Cody is like the third wheel in this right now, where it became Sammy Gunther as opposed to Sammy Cody. I don't know. Like, you're right about all this, though. It did a lot of his decision making and this and that. He's kind of losing control of the show a little bit. The Gunther thing, the contract stuff, and how weird that all was.
Right, exactly. Good point.
But ultimately, we got to a place that I'm fine with. Obviously, triple threat. We'll do that. It was very convoluted to get there, though.
Well, we're not even at the announcement of the triple threat, but before that happened, we had the King of the Ring semifinal. Javon Evans versus Jey Uso. Jey was getting insanely hyped backstage before Javon approached, saying he's a big fan of Uso, before wishing him luck and calling him Unk. So Jey turned on him, angry at the ageist comment, I suppose, saying he'd smack the taste out of his mouth. Evans ate a nasty pop-up Samoan drop, landing on his side rather than his back. He removed his shirt to reveal taped up ribs, which I presume were from the prior match, but I did not remember that area specifically getting worked. Jey worked heel from that point forward, targeting the affected area as the match slowed down significantly. He also pushed Evans off the top rope, jaw first into the ringside barricade, which he also used to attack the midsection. Javon's most exciting spot came during the break as he leapt from the equivalent of the free throw line into and over the timekeeper's area while splashing Jey. It was shown as a highlight afterward, but man, you just got to do those spots live. Evans caught Uso on the top rope for an avalanche Spanish fly with the crowd firmly in his camp despite being into Yeet Man. Fans, for some reason, were more interested in putting up fireflies than cheering and chanting despite their engagement to that point in the match. I couldn't understand why that was happening. It was such an odd visual. Evans kicked out of a spear, so Uso stalked him from the corner, eating a super kick and red dot, and then Jey just stopped the OG cutter, hit another spear, and landed the Uso splash to win.
Well, that was a great matchup, but the ending sucked.
Jey lifted and dapped up Javon after the bell, even raising his arm so he could get a bit of an ovation. You know what would have put him over even more? Letting Javon beat a guy who had no business being around the world title again. There's a British phrase I wish I used more, but I don't because I'm not British, but it is so appropriate for the way this ended. Fucking L. We all knew Evans wasn't winning, and yet hope was abound that WWE would do something far more interesting with Javon. The concept and execution of the match, it was strong until the finish, where it was just like, enough of that. Time for Jey to win and get out of here. Something more unique, inventive, and protective of Javon would have made this more appetizing in the finish. Still, they met the moment in terms of hype and energy level, and interestingly enough, Javon gave Uso one of his best matches the last couple of years because the midsection injury cell allowed Jey to work slower and to his strengths, and he was able to flash his heel tendencies doing offense. That also created even more strong fan sentiment behind Evans, as he's the one who got the most out of the match, even in defeat. I went 4 stars A-. Tough to argue with anything they did other than the base level booking decision of putting Jey over in the King of the Ring final and the rushed finish. If they had gone another couple of minutes and the finish was more exciting, this might have been an A match. I was really shocked how much I enjoyed this again until the finish.
Yeah, really good match. And even Javon losing, protect him or not, like he lost to a former world champion. Like that's certainly nothing to sneeze at. So we haven't liked Jay getting here. We'll get in more into the main event, in the final of the tournament. But good match between these two. They had something here. Good match out of Jay. Crowd was into it eventually, as it kind of came around. But yeah, I liked it. It was good.
2 more items from SmackDown. Cody found Nick backstage saying he's tired of catering to Gunther and Sammy. They both know, as veterans in the industry, there's only one solution. Rhodes wanted to beat them both in a triple threat at Night of Champions. Duh. Cody later dapped up Jay backstage, telling him he only had one match to go if they were to fight. Uso said he was ready to get the job done and then blitz QB1. Rhodes reminded that it was Obafemi on the other side, saying he's easy to find, but not using the second half of the phrase, which I thought Vintage made it so much better and more natural. I'm easy to find, and then just walk away instead of, what was it, hard to beat? It should be hard to kill, whatever. Sammy then showed up and got into it with Jay, saying he believes that Uso can win King of the Ring, but he also believes he will be the one holding the WWE Championship after Night of Champions. That potential matchup became heated, with Zayn telling Uso to say hi to the Bloodline for him. This was all just kind of closing the loop on what happened during the show from a storytelling standpoint. Jay's interaction with Cody seemed to be a giveaway. Sammy involving himself with Uso was natural given their history. Enjoyment for this will be entirely dependent on whether Jay wins this tournament. And if that is the booking, we'll talk about it a little bit later in the Ultimate Preview, but man, that is going to be tough to stomach.
Yeah, I don't know. Like they just set up a lot of possibilities here. They don't want to make it obvious what Jay is going to do one way or the other, or they want you to think he's going to go after Cody because he's been saying it. But we all know the idea of Jay wins if he goes after Roman. Like you got to set these possibilities up. That's the point of the tournament. Guys on moving on different brands. Like it made sense to have this conversation and do it the way they did it.
Jacob Fatu approached Solo Sikoa backstage during SmackDown. Solo immediately cut him off, saying his answer for Reigns has not changed. Jacob said he was only in attendance to keep an eye on Jay given his King of the Ring match, but he told Sikoa that he was running out of time and had to make a choice. He was frustrated and confused at what Fatu was saying. Over on Raw, Jacob confronted the Usos backstage, saying Roman got Solo's message and now they just sit and wait. Frankly, I couldn't hear what else they said in that segment, but it could not have been that important. I have no idea why Fatu was basically whispering in that segment. And when it comes to Solo, Vintage in general, the idea of Bloodline crossing these brands and Solo getting integrated back into the storyline with maybe MFT as well, I don't fully understand what's happening here.
So I also couldn't quite understand what they were saying. So I'm glad I'm not alone on that. Yeah. That was strange. We talked a lot last week's show about the Bloodline and just kind of running it back and stuff like that. So I don't want to repeat all of that.
Sure.
But yes, you got guys just crossing brands for no reason, being interfering in things. GM's not caring. It's all over the place now. It's like, it just feels like they don't know what they want to do with so many people. Solo, they just cut half his group. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, he's still got a tag team with him, but maybe let's break that up. Maybe let's throw him in with the Bloodline again. It just, everything feels in transition.
They had Tama Tonga eyeing the United States Championship for 4 months. Now he stopped. They had Shinsuke Nakamura confronting him for 4 months. Now that stopped. He's tagging with Tala. Are they just going to be a tag team and Solo's going to join the Bloodline again? Like, it's very odd. It's odd, and it's something that I don't believe. I think there's an online sentiment that the Bloodline is bad and that fans don't like it and they're tired of it. That is not true based on what we see from social media metrics, viewership, fan response. They love it. Okay. But there is something to be said for the involvement of like Solo Sikoa and going back to that well, and it now invading 2 different shows when SmackDown is struggling on its own without Bloodline interference. So, it's one thing to do it, and then it's another thing to overdo it. And it feels like this edition is being overdone. That's really the point I'm trying to make. We had LA Knight against Jimmy Uso over on Raw. Knight again confronted Adam Pearce, insinuating his ongoing Bloodline relationship. Pearce said Jacob Fatu got fined for attacking Eric Andre last week, but obviously Knight didn't give a shit about that. Jimmy confronted LA, reminding that he tried to get his back and show respect for him last week, only to get hit with a chair as collateral damage. As it got heated between the 3 of them, Pearce snapped at Knight, set the match. I'm curious to get your take here. Do you believe that Knight is a purposeful on-screen representative for the part of the WWE fan base that is sick of the bloodline and expressing as much? Or are his words and actions completely unrelated and purely just based on his history with the faction?
I mean, I think it's both. I mean, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we had Roman Reigns addressing the idea that fans are sick of running back the bloodline, to which he said, we've always been running things. So like, they are very aware of fans, at least some fans, being kind of tired of this. Mm-hmm. And is that an acknowledgement? Is LA Knight acknowledging it just enough to make people say, okay, they hear us? Kind of like when, Pat McAfee gets forced into the main event and then that becomes an on-screen kayfabe thing where Pat McAfee's agent is putting, and Cody's talking about
natural.
it.
Like this is the natural version of that, possibly.
Right. It just feels like if we at least address the things that people are worried about, then it'll be like, okay. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's going to work or not. LA Knight is crazy over still, and people want him to accomplish things. And if he's only here to just be that voice and he's not actually ever going to get one up on the bloodline or really get to where he's mm-hmm. consistently calling out Roman, if he's never going to get that opportunity, then he just kind of looks like a nobody who generally keeps getting ignored by Roman, but he's just there to say something and not be able to do anything about it.
I will say though, and look, he is not, you can like LA Knight as much as you want. I'm going to draw a comparison here. He is not as talented as these people, but CM Punk was the voice of the voiceless until it broke through and it made him champion. Daniel Bryan was the guy supported by the IWC and the Smarks, and he was never going to be WWE champion until he was multiple times. So, Knight's older than both of them were at those respective times, of course. WWE is in a far different spot than the company was both of those times. Roman Reigns as champion is a far different champion than John Cena was, and some of the other guys, Triple H and Randy Orton, Batista, were at those times. I'm just saying it could be analogous. I don't necessarily believe it will be.
Maybe, but to your point, those guys won the championship.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think they were never going to be champion. Both of those guys. Sorry to overdo you there. Yeah. Those guys were never going to be champion until they were. You know what I mean? Like, it was never going to happen. Fans would never see it. I'm not going to believe WWE is going to push the guy. And then they both became champion multiple times. In LA Knight's case, none of us believe he will be world champion at this juncture. But he could be.
And what's funny is that we think he has all the skills to do it. Like with Daniel Bryan or Punk, it was like, oh, they're scrawny or they're small or this or that. Right. Like LA Knight is the prototypical pro wrestler.
Yeah, if WWE was the type of company where you needed to be a top flight professional wrestler in ring bell to bell in order to be champion, then LA Knight would not be champion. That is not what this company has been for the vast majority, maybe the entirety of its existence. You need to be able to cut promos, represent the company well, and look good with the title on your shoulder. LA Knight looks good with the title on the shoulder. LA Knight can cut promos. LA Knight can represent the company well. So
the only thing is, does he become the Dolph Ziggler, where it's like people are into him, jobber to the stars, can represent the company, and that's it.
Dolph Ziggler
that's
had
the other side of it.
2 world title reigns. Is that right?
He did eventually get him.
Just give the guy one, man. That's all we're saying. Give him one.
He should look. CM Punk had a good run. He should have won it when Seth had to drop it. That was the moment. Give him a couple of months going into Rumble.
Yeah,
they didn't do it.
Anyway, back to this match, Knight and Jimmy. It was relatively formulaic, as one would expect from these two wrestlers. It got a light "This is awesome" chant. To be fair, Knight box jumped the top rope as Sikoa appeared behind the barricade out of nowhere. That allowed Jimmy to push him down, but when LA fell with the referee distracted, Solo hopped the apron and tagged Jimmy right in the neck with the Samoan spike. Knight saw this. He was obviously confused, but he took advantage with blunt force trauma for the victory. I'm of a mixed mind in terms of this match. On one hand, the last thing LA should have needed was help beating Jimmy Uso. And Uso certainly did not need an excused loss. If there's anyone in the bloodline who Knight should be able to take down on his own every single time, it's Jimmy. Also, Solo appearing on Raw and this storyline involving him, as I mentioned a moment ago, is incredibly frustrating, especially since he didn't flash his tickets hysterically like he did last time. If Solo Sikoa is going to appear on Raw, I want him behind the barricade flashing the tickets with that shit-eating grin on his face. On the other hand, Sikoa showing up was a bit surprising. It did generate an extremely strong reaction. It was somewhat refreshing for a match interruption, and Knight sold it incredibly well with his overall distrust, having him look around, expecting more to happen, figuring, well, he didn't just attack Jimmy, they're going to attack both of us. And if this is a potential Solo face turn, if the bloodline does go full heel, that might actually be interesting. So that's why I said I was of a mixed mind here. I was frustrated for Knight that he couldn't just win the match on his own. I was kind of intrigued by Solo in a babyface role for a moment.
And wearing that Paul Bear red blazer.
Yeah.
Very
looking
bright.
Sharp.
Look, it was interesting. It was good. It was fun. It's what we expect at this level. The question just remains, will LA Knight be able to do anything more than this level with the bloodline? This is where he's been the whole time. He'll fight the bottom guy. He'll do a tag team with the Usos. He's never in Roman's orbit at all. So I don't know. We'll see. I like the idea of Solo potentially kind of doing an anti-bloodline potentially, and just getting all the people who they've screwed over the years. Like a
random amalgamation of Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, just guys like that.
Yeah, maybe.
It wouldn't be the worst idea.
You'd have to have the bloodline be full heels though, and they're not.
They would need to be full heels, and you would need to make it a real all-star team too. On the other side.
Like Drew McIntyre.
Right. You can't just have, right. Yeah. You can't have, no offense, I love Javon Evans, but you can't just throw in Javon Evans or Rey Mysterio or something. You have to have people who the bloodline wronged, and therefore they want specific revenge on them. And McIntyre coming back as a babyface to align with LA Knight and Solo Sikoa, that's at least refreshing, unique, and different. And that's something that we're not getting from WWE a lot right now. So that could be pretty cool. We have a lot more to discuss from Raw and SmackDown this week. We're going to get to all of it momentarily. Before we do, Silver King needs to remind you that whether it is Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or premium live events like WWE Night of Champions, we are all in watching them on Netflix with NordVPN. It is easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience every night. You get the same high-quality streams, except they become commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, France, Italy, open Netflix, and watch the program. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship and surveillance. It protects your private data as well, and one account can be used on 10 different devices. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan, and there's no risk. Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. We love having NordVPN as the official singular sponsor of your boys right here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. As mentioned, we have everything else from Raw and SmackDown still to discuss on this episode, and we are going to break it down as we always do in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Charlotte Flair fought Liv Morgan in the Queen of the Ring semifinal. Charlotte backstage said her hunger has not faded despite years without a world title, and she's ready to do whatever is necessary to get a championship match at SummerSlam. She also debuted a new line saying she's the queen, then, now, forever. Not terrible, not great. Morgan got a tape promo before the match agreeing with Flair that she was the greatest of the past, countering that she's neither the present nor the future. It was the most calm and composed that we've seen Liv in a promo since she won the title, so that was pretty well done. Jade Cargill tried to intimidate Flair, talking shit to her outside of gorilla position, but audio barely picked up what she said. As Charlotte turned to enter, B-Fab took out her knee. Jade stomped it. Morgan laughed at her moments later as Flair demanded to wrestle, limping her way through gorilla against the wishes of Nick Aldis and Alexa Bliss. Now, watching live, I was seriously hoping this was a swerve with the injury created as like a reason to excuse the loss, not in this match, but to Io Sky, where she would still be nursing the knee, and then it would lead to her losing. But I assumed it was for this match, considering Liv is a champion, and losing to a badly injured Charlotte as a champion would be extremely rough for her coming out of the match. Making matters even worse is that they had already given Javon an injury excuse earlier in the show. So they were doing an extremely similar booking for the other semifinal Vintage on the same night. And that was before it even started. I'm watching it and I'm like, are they really doing the same thing twice?
That part was weird too. Again, like also around the tournament stuff. I didn't know where this was going to go when it started. But it was interesting. I have thoughts on how it played out, but when this happened, I was like, well, you can't delay the match because we're in a tournament. That's right. It upped the urgency for it's not like you could be like, let's delay the match a week or something because you have to fit it in. It's a tournament. We have the championship.
And it
like,
needs
even
to be equal
kayfabe
for all parties. Like it has to be equal for both, people advancing to the final. They have the same amount of rest or a similar amount of rest. Like
right.
they could have done it on the go home SmackDown, which would have been great, but they didn't.
And it wasn't the Judgment Day that did it either. Like Liv wasn't, didn't sick Raquel on her. And you could say, well, doesn't that open up the door to anybody just attacking their opponent before a King of the Ring match? It didn't. So it was like, it was an interesting way to do it.
Morgan attacked Flair's knee before the bell, sending Aldis down to the ring with a second attempt to persuade her not to compete. Charlotte remained steadfast, though. A bump that she took into the steel steps was incredibly weird. She didn't even sell it. She just laid over the steel steps like a dead fish. Even stranger was that she did a flying crossbody and later tried to climb the ropes again. Totally nonsensical. Liv capitalized on that failed second attempt with a sunset flip powerbomb and then did a horrendous second rope frog splash where she landed on her feet rather than take Flair's double knees, which was the entire point of doing it. Charlotte even trying the double knees was dumb because her knee is hurt. Morgan finally focused her attack on the knee until Flair threw her off the ropes and hit an avalanche natural selection from the second rope off one leg. See, that's a logical way to do it, jumping off one leg, and it looked cool too. Liv reversed a figure four before a rope break and a knee attack into a single leg Boston Crab. Aldis, Bliss, and trainers again checked on Charlotte, who was able to snap Liv's neck over the middle rope, only to get caught with Oblivion coming back inside for a false finish. Morgan went back to the Crab, and Flair tapped out due to the pain. So starting with the positives, it was a mostly well-conceptualized match, and Flair did a great job selling throughout. She drew a lot of sympathy. While the crowd responded, they were nowhere near as hot as I would have expected, just considering Charlotte is so over right now. She's more over than you could argue she's ever been as a babyface. I'm not sure kicking out of Oblivion was necessary at all. In fact, it wasn't. It was totally unnecessary. But considering Liv won with relative ease after that, it wasn't really the end of the world. The negatives are that some of what Flair did in the match was straight up idiotic, and Morgan working a slower style played to her weaknesses, not her strengths. Further, it was ridiculous that Morgan, a world champion, could not put a woman away who was injured twice. She had 2 knee attacks before this match. So it was a frustrating, slow match. Just to watch it, it didn't do either of them any favors. Charlotte was so ridiculously overprotected for no legitimate reason. The real issue is the booking, though. WWE has unnecessarily booked itself into a no-win situation in Queen of the Ring. We will save that discussion for the Ultimate Preview. But this was always the concern with Liv entering and not being eliminated without being pinned in the opening 4-way. I'm going to give this a light bad. The concept was okay. The selling was okay. But it was incredibly frustrating to watch and overly forgettable.
I'm going to give it a light good because I liked all those things that you laid out there. I didn't like the larger booking of the tournament part, which, again, we'll get to. But this was a rare time when Charlotte could really actually work underneath in a match. Mm-hmm. And we never see that from her. It really was a white meat baby face type of effort. And I just remember thinking man, you never really see Charlotte like this. And so that was interesting. And I thought the match was laid out pretty well. She didn't need to kick out of Oblivion. Liv won, it took longer than maybe it should have, but it never felt like Charlotte was going to win either, which is what you want to do when the other person's a champion. It didn't make Liv look like nothing, at least. It just took more effort than maybe it needed to. Mm-hmm. So, like good. I don't like Liv winning. We'll talk about that later.
So that's what I'm getting at. The more effort than needed to. This went 19 minutes. And it's like, I'm so glad they got that time because we hate when women's matches get shortchanged.
Yeah.
But the one time that a match shouldn't go this long is when you have someone, I don't care how great she is, selling a knee injury like the appendage needs to get cut off. I mean, she sold it really well. She didn't sell it, oh, I'm limping around, but I can still do most things. She was in excruciating pain. They 3 times tried to get her to stop wrestling in the match. It shouldn't take 20 minutes if you're Liv Morgan, who's a multi-time women's champion, who beat Ronda Rousey a few times, by the way. It shouldn't take her 20 minutes to beat a woman who was effectively working on one leg. 15. It's much better at 15. I know that may sound like nitpicking to some people. It's really not if you think about it logically. There's an argument to be made, by the way, that Bliss throwing in the towel actually may have been more effective. It would have protected Flair even more. It would have given Morgan an even cheaper win, and it would have fueled her character that she was so dominant the baby faces had to quit. And then you don't have to worry about Oblivion. You don't have to worry about a 20-minute match. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea, Vintage, but like that's what came to me as SmackDown ended.
Maybe, but then we would just be saying, why can't Liv she can't even beat a one-legged person. Like at
Totally
least
true.
Liv got the win and got it technically as clean as you can within the match.
That's a fantastic point. Jade Meechin and BFAB, who still do not have a name, said that they run the women's division even if they're not in Queen of the Ring. Considering she successfully injured Rhea Ripley, Cargill turned her focus to Tiffany Stratton, challenging for the United States Championship because she previously beat her for the WWE title. Stratton later accepted the challenge, saying she doesn't need lousy sidekicks like Cargill. Chelsea Green interrupted, agreeing with her while saying that they're different because they're equals. She denied calling Tiffy names in the past, saying tacky time was a term of endearment, which was enough for Stratton to logically point out that she doesn't need help from someone who's been shading her for the better part of a year. This is a change in creative plans because Ripley is legitimately injured. So while I have no desire whatsoever to see Tiffy and Jade rematch so soon, even though their prior affairs were actually quite strong, it is completely logical for Cargill to believe she deserves a title opportunity from a champion she recently beat for another title. The first segment was nothing at all to write home about, so I was ready for a negative grade. But Tiffany and Chelsea were much more interesting together. They developed their relationship. I'm actually going to lean light good on this one.
I'm going to say light bad just because it was a little bit, but it's like it's very obvious that Chelsea is being a good person, trying to help her. Tiffany keeps coming across like the heel in this situation, which is weird. Like,
but she's not being illogical, though. Like, this woman was a piece of crap to her for a year. Why should she trust her friendship all of a sudden? You know?
Yes. I mean, that's true. But
yes, she is being a little bit dickish considering Chelsea has saved her and tried to save her multiple times. Yes.
Yeah, it's been like 3 or 4 times at this point.
Right.
I think you can maybe... I mean, and they tag together one in the one, so it's like...
Ease up a little bit.
I don't know. I'm ready for this to just happen because maybe that's just what it is. Like, I want Tiffany to just accept it because Chelsea's... We like Chelsea's. People are cheering her. We want to open that up, and I'm waiting for that to happen because when that happens is when I think Tiffany will kind of unlock herself as a character. And we're not there yet.
And she badly needs that. It's interesting. We are apart on the first 2 grades here. I don't think that'll continue the whole segment, but I don't know if that's ever happened where we've started 0-2 in terms of agreement, or I guess disagreement. Paige and Brie Bella got a promo package on SmackDown, putting over their surprise women's tag team championship reign, as well as the incredible abilities of Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, saying they've had a ton of success solo and with other partners, but just not together. The champions admitted that Bayley and Lyra are the perfect technical matchup for them, but they remain steadfast that they would retain the titles. Fatal Influence then promoted into the camera backstage, ranting about the referee screwing them over last week, calling the champions a nostalgia act and demanding a rematch for the titles if they walk out of Raw as champions. JC Jane then said she would be demanding a match against Paige next week in London so she could embarrass her in front of her family. This was the best effort from Influence in a while. And you know what? A nice promo from the champions too. It gave me a level of belief that the titles might change, just given how much they put over Bayley and Lyra. But then again, considering the heels had a singles and tag challenge on the back end, ultimately I was like, well, they're not going so far as to set up another feud if the titles are going to change. So you can say what you want, and we have, about Paige and Brie and the way their tag team title reign started, especially. But what you cannot deny is that they have racked up wins. They have the single, it's crazy to say this. They have the single strongest title reign since WrestleMania. In terms of quality of victories, opponents they fought, times they've defended, they're cutting promos, and they've actually gotten better in the ring together as well. So if you're going to put over Fatal Influence by having them beating a couple veterans, Silver King is all for that. In terms of the promos on Friday, these were good.
Yeah, it made the tag team belts seem important. They built up their opponents, built up the match that was coming. And what you're saying there, if it wasn't clear, the best, or at least the most accomplished title reign of any champion in WWE
Correct.
Since WrestleMania is what you're saying, which is absolutely true. This might be the most accomplished women's title reign in years. I mean, those belts have been so cursed for so long. There's only been a handful of
Rio had a great reign with those titles, if memory serves.
Yeah, but that's true. Maybe that was it. But
you forget how hot this division was, man. At the end of 2025, it was on fire.
No, I just mean like literally like kayfabe victories.
Oh yeah,
like how many defenses.
The issue with this reign has been storytelling. They've just been a lot of, hey, I want to challenge for the titles. Okay, we'll defend them against you. That's been the frustrating part. But in terms of defenses, like, they're actually wrestling. And if you told me Paige and Brie were wrestling that much, and okay, at the midway point, I was frustrated because they weren't very good, but they've improved in the ring. Like, Paige has figured it out again. Brie's gotten better. I know she's training with Bryan Danielson, obviously her husband. Like, they've actually become a totally legitimate, perfectly acceptable team. And that change over the last, I'd say, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, something like that. It's been refreshing. So kudos to them. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, just that's what I want from every champion, to have defenses. Yeah. So when you lose, it means something. It's a criticism we've had of Liv's championship run, is that I don't think she's even defended the title at all. She's just had this tournament in which she may not have to defend the title. I'm giving that a good as well.
Second on the list is Penta. He won his title before WrestleMania, but he's had an extremely strong reign as well. The fact that we can single them out, though, and there's so many other title reigns that have been shit over the last couple of months, that is a massive problem. Women's Tag Team Championship, Paige and Brie Bella defending against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. The challengers cut a strong babyface promo backstage with Lyra saying this was clearly their destiny. It was supposed to be their moment in London to win the tag team titles, and that's the only reason why they didn't get the job done at WrestleMania. They were not only fully motivated, they seemed totally locked in with one another, both as characters and visually with matching gear. The pressure of the situation was apparent on screen, really well done by them. At the same time, the setup seemed extremely heavy-handed, telling us that the titles would not change. This was the opening match on Raw. Bayley did not get her normal European reaction, which was interesting. Paige saved Brie after a Bayley to belly, got the hot tag after the break, landing a bunch of fisherman suplexes. Valkyria countered Paige Turner into Nightwing for a broken fall. And then, about a minute later, Lyra landed a fisherman's buster, but she rolled through to do another move. Maybe it was going to be Nightwing again. Paige countered into Rampage, got the clean 1-2-3, and they retained the titles. So cameras lingered after the bell. Bayley tried to lift Lyra's spirits, telling her that she's the best, the loss was okay, they'll get over it. Valkyria first accepted the hug, but then she turned heel, seemingly, chucking Bayley into the middle rope twice. Both times, Bayley snapped her neck backward. It looked absolutely brutal. Great spots. And then Lyra just starts beating on her with punches and smacks to the face. That's between those two tosses. Though they got separated, Lyra again ran back to Bayley, executed a brutal version of Nightwing, and then left. Lyra twice refused comment after the match backstage, and Bayley did as well from the trainer's room. The heel turn and the attack were both extremely well done. And the general concept of Valkyria cracking after putting all this pressure on herself, it's perfectly fine for her character. It also leans into what Becky Lynch has said about her previously, and that's kind of cool. Becky Lynch is always right eventually. However, as I said, the heavy-handed start, it kind of gave away that the titles would not flip here, and I was still astonished at the way this match was booked. I don't mind a clean finish. We complain about not getting them all the time. But really, you're going to have Valkyria take the fall that easily in that short of a match running 8 effing minutes, half of which happened during the break. This was the only women's match on Raw. The men got nearly 3 times as much for the main event with their championship on the line. If this match was longer and Lyra took more punishment before the 1, 2, 3, I'd not have nearly as much of an issue with it as I do. But context has to matter, especially for the women's division, until every company, but WWE in this case, proves that they are booking the men and women equally. Beyond that, while Paige and Brie and kayfabe, like I said, are having a hell of a title run, are we really continuing with them as champions? Are Lyra and Bayley never going to get their moment? And why are we turning Valkyria, who has successfully established herself as a babyface despite a year of poor booking? She can work as a heel. In fact, I believe she will. I'm just saying, why exactly was that decision? And why did you never pay off Lyra and Bayley when you had all this time to do it? Now, maybe there's something more on the other side. Bayley helping Lyra's mental state the way Valkyria did for Bayley. Tatum Paxley joining the roster to get Lyra's head right and reunite her with Bayley in the trio that I've talked about. Maybe I will retroactively change this grade overall. In fact, I can see it happening. Right now, I'm only able to react to what happened on TV in front of me, and maybe they'll get us where this should be going. I'll allow for that possibility. I don't want to jump the gun immediately. But on Monday alone, given the ridiculously short length of the match, given the way Lyra lost, I have to lean light bad. I wish I could give it a more positive grade because, again, the booking concept, the heel turn, both of those were done extremely well. But circumstantially, in context, it really pissed me off.
So I'll give what they did a good, like in a vacuum. But your larger point of where it should get to was Bayley and Lyra winning the titles, and that's not happening. Mm-hmm. Like, we're done with that. So that in itself is a larger failure. The idea that we went with Paige and Brie at WrestleMania for the reason of Paige is back because Nikki's hurt.
Right.
Like, what happens if Nikki Bella is not hurt? Or the Bellas the champions this whole time? Like, how much changed? And like we said going into Mania, I'm pretty sure we both picked Lyra and Bayley. Like, they had built that story for
perfectly.
A year.
They nailed it. Yeah.
And then just decided not to do it, to ride the Paige return, keep riding it, and then just throw Bayley and Lyra by the wayside and go somewhere else. And I think this could be potentially damaging to Lyra's future in that, like, has lost so many times here, and now she's turning heel because well, like, sometimes you turn heel because the other partner is the one who keeps getting pinned and you turn on them and whatever. Like, but Lyra also just went through this on the other side a year ago. Was it a year ago? 2 years ago? When Becky came in, replaced Bayley, joined Lyra as tag team champions, won the titles, then lost them, then turned on Lyra.
Lyra lost them on Raw. She took the fall, and then Bayley turned on her.
Becky turned on her.
Sorry,
right.
Becky turned on her. Right.
Yeah, so it's like, what is Lyra right now? Because we never finished that really important part of her story, which was the friendship with Bayley and where they were going to get to. And they never got to a high enough high where this turn feels like anything. It was the most telegraphed heel turn in tag team wrestling. It was exactly what you write up in your head when you take 2 seconds to think about it.
It's usually the other person who loses and they get mad at that person. But
yeah, but I'm just saying,
similar,
they lose again, you linger, boom. And like the fan reaction to it was like, okay. Like, when she first did it, you get the pop, but then it was just kind of, it just wasn't what it was, because it didn't feel like Lyra's pissed. She feels like she has to turn heel, like Becky did way back in the day when she turned on Charlotte. It felt like WWE was telling the fans, we don't really believe in Lyra and Bayley. We're not going to go all the way with them, so we're going to turn one of them heel, and here we go.
Right.
Like, it's like the booking came through the screen because they just have not finished these stories with Lyra, and Lyra's just there to be a piece that kind of moves around. It doesn't always make sense, you know. Yeah. Like, she wins the IC title, doesn't show up on TV for like a month or whatever that was after that. The Becky thing, and like the Becky stuff was good. It elevated Lyra to a level. And then ever since SummerSlam, which they documented in Unreal, it's just Lyra's just kind of there. And that's really unfortunate.
It is. I mean, again, I'm holding out hope that it all ties together. And I believe there is a legitimate possibility for that. Crumbling under pressure, frustrated at losing for the last year. Something needs to change. So she turns
what should happen?
Like, that's
should happen?
Yeah.
Becky and Lyra should team up again.
Well,
as a heel tag team.
I would be for that. Sure.
But we'll see.
We'll have to, again, is there going to be a Tatum Paxley factor? Is this a heel turn, like where she has completely gone to that side? Or is it similar to what happened with Bayley, where she freaked out, had a moment, apologizes. Now she has maybe not a split personality, but this anger inside of her that Bayley needs to tamp down as opposed to the other way. There are a lot of really interesting ways that this can go. It's just in this moment, I'm extremely frustrated. We'll see what happens next week and whether we believe that they're actually doing something interesting or it's a typical heel turn and she feuds with Bayley and one of them wins and then it just moves on from there. If it's deeper than that, if it's more detailed than that, perhaps they have something. World Tag Team Championship, the Vision defending against the Street Profits. Austin Theory led a backstage promo with Logan Paul still braced up and Paul Heyman still missing. Logan put himself over as per usual, and Braun Breaker said they would get back to business after they retain the titles, and he ripped Seth Rollins' head off his body at Night of Champions. The Profits were focused on getting the job done and making the Vision impaired, which was a very corny line from Montez Ford. This main evented Raw. Bronson Reed was mentioned by Michael Cole for the first time in a long time. You'll remember we discussed his Night of Champions involvement potentially last week. Dawkins got a nice hat tag, hitting a silencer before Montez added the Doomsday Blockbuster. Logan got ejected for putting Theory's foot on the bottom rope. They tried to repeat the Doomsday Blockbuster for some reason. That failed. So Breaker hit his leaping lariat onto the announce table. Fans chanted for Rollins and CM Punk during this match. Ford went on a nice run with a standing moonsault in the latter stages, but he got taken out with a cool tandem rolling lariat German suplex. The Vision followed with a Doomsday Bulldog for a broken fall. Breaker flipped out and threw steel steps into the ring, only to get run into the post. Logan reappeared ringside with brass knuckles, so Joe Hendry's music suddenly hit. He got a huge pop, appeared on the ring apron out of nowhere, chased Paul to the back, but Logan left the knucks on the canvas. So Rollins' music hit. Breaker was waiting to confront him at the bottom of the ramp. Instead, Rollins clean hopped the other side of the barricade, took the knucks from Theory, punched him in the face with them. Breaker briefly gave up on the match, started chasing Rollins around the ring, over the barricade. He was going to go up the stairs. The Street Profits back inside, though, hit the Anointment and Ford's Frog Splash to win their third main roster tag team championship, as Braun was just late enough getting back to the ring. Most important to me, at least, is that this match got a lot of time. The Profits were reestablished as a championship caliber tag team before the shenanigans started. And then, of course, they won the titles. Would I have been even happier if Rollins did not punch Theory with the knucks? Yes. That, to me, was completely unnecessary. Why do you need to use the weapon when it's Theory? It's a multi-time tag team champion on the other side, and Braun Breaker is not anywhere near the ring. Theory didn't need the protection. The Profits beating him on their own would have been preferable. However, I presume his direct interference was done for a reason, as we pontificated last week. It's always nice to get a title change, especially involving other babyfaces, especially in Europe. After what happened earlier with the women, I was decently positive the straps would flip here. The larger question now is whether they can build any type of division to keep the Profits and the titles relevant. And at this point, I highly doubt that. The Hendry return in the United Kingdom was a nice touch, and now there are 4 guys against a Vision that might soon be back at 4 themselves. Definite good, despite whatever hiccups I mentioned.
Definite good. Well-deserved for the Profits. It's been a messy year plus for tag team wrestling, but they're finally back. They're finally tag team champs. The crowd's into them. They look great. That's a huge positive. Mm-hmm. The match, again, Logan Paul putting the foot on the rope. Why not just slide it under the rope? That's, again, we've opened up these doors. These are the things I'm going to be thinking about all the time. Mm-hmm. It's rare you see someone put the foot on the rope and like just hold it there while the ref's looking. Like the most blatant interference you could possibly do. But, the Hendry stuff was good. I didn't need the Seth part either, just because it's 2 people for the baby faces and 1 for the heels. Mm-hmm. But I think the point was to upset Braun. Braun runs after him. That helps Braun not break up the pin because he was too focused on Seth. He's got Seth at Night of Champions. So that's our way of tying it into the match on Saturday, which is ultimately fine. Mm-hmm. I don't think you needed it, but I get it. And good title change needed to happen a couple weeks ago when we thought it might, but better late than never. I agree with you. They need to build out a tag team division now. I just don't know how you do that because there are not many tag teams left. But for at least one day, a positive out of the tag team division here.
And a good from you, I assume.
Yes.
Carmelo Hayes fought Ricky Saints for a United States #1 contendership. Melo hit a leap over DDT on the apron early after a slow start to the match from a crowd interest standpoint. Ricky did old school off the ropes. The crowd got up for Hayes after the break, and he uniquely stopped a running bulldog cold, pulling Saints backwards into a back drop. Melo followed with his springboard no-look DDT, which got a great pop, before a counter sequence leading to a fireman's carry flapjack. Really nice inventiveness on that move. That resulted in surprise dual chants that I would say were 70% for Hayes, but Saints got a couple. Melo came back with La Magistral and his lifted cutter. Each countered the other's finisher before a set of pinning reversals, during which one of the turnbuckle pads came off. They jostled on the exposed area, Saints knocking Hayes down for a metal shot into the groin. Melo escaped Rochambeau and hit first 48, but Ricky pushed out of a cover, throwing Hayes into the exposed turnbuckle, knocking him out just enough for the 1-2-3. This was a great match, and it was an appropriate conclusion to their series, with Saints serving as the right winner, just considering it is way too early to do Trick Melo, especially on such short build for a show in Saudi Arabia. Williams is more on the babyface side as well. Saints need something legitimate as a more recent main roster debutante. Unfortunately,
Well, that was a great matchup, but the ending sucked.
it was creative, it was conceptually fine, but it was so damn slow. A turnbuckle spot and a wrestler capitalizing, that needs to happen immediately. It took Melo like 30 seconds to hit the exposed metal, and it felt like it took Ricky 2 minutes just to cover him. I'd have much preferred he hit a finisher, even the Revolution DDT that focuses on the head. You do that spot, then the Revolution DDT, you do the fall, it protects Melo even more. It's a more interesting and exciting finish. And that's why I was so frustrated by this. So I'm at 4 stars, A-. It was going into that A range, and that just knocked it right down for me. Despite that, it was good.
Yeah, I'll give it a light good. I understand what you're saying with Ricky Saints win because we're not ready for Melo versus Trick just yet. But man, it feels like it's been like stop and start with Melo so often. And it felt like coming out of Mania and Backlash, we were going to get something. And then just Ricky Saints, who's just new to the company, new to the main roster, comes in and leapfrogs him. And it's kind of like the Lyra thing where it's like, it's getting really hard to believe in Carmelo Hayes. So that is frustrating. I'm going to give it a light. What'd I say? Did I give it a light bad for that? I thought the wrestling was good, but it's more the overall booking, I think, that frustrates me.
Wow, we are on opposite sides a lot today. This is interesting.
Very much. It's close.
It's close. These are all
terrible,
close.
But yeah. of the options, I would have preferred the other.
Gotcha. Chad Gable hit the ring for a promo on Raw. On second listen, the new entrance theme, it remains not great. I do like that it has full lyrics and that his name is in the chorus. I would give it a 6.5 after originally thinking it was around a 4. Do you have an opinion on this?
I love it. I've been waiting this whole show to talk about this. I won't go too long because I know we got a lot to talk about. But because I didn't quite hear it the first time around. This second time around, they absolutely made sure you heard every bit of it. Mm-hmm. And the one thing you can say about what they're doing with this, they are trying to get the song and the chanting and the clapping over. Gable's doing the clapping, very obvious to signal to the crowd. The commentary is not talking over the song. They want you to hear the Gable chant in there. They're really, really trying. And I found the song on YouTube. I listened to it a couple of times. I like it. This is the kind of stuff I like. It reminds me of American Made, Hogan's WCW theme. But someone on Blue Sky made an even better point, which was this sounds like every U.S. champion
Correct.
in WCW at Great American Bash in the early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, just some guy.
It sounded like a cutscene for like a 80s movie, like from Rocky, like a training montage or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
Yeah.
Now I got to clarify something with you. Okay. So the song, I gave it a 6.5. Give me a number out of 10.
I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
But it's behind Austin Theory's new song that we never hear, which I'm giving a 9.
Okay, so it's an 8 out of 10 for you, 6.5 for me. Not that far apart. The hand clap over the head gesture, it's horrendous. Like, that to me is a 1. I hate it. It doesn't say anything about Gable. It takes a lot of effort, and people are clapping to the beat. Like, what are you really accomplishing? He doesn't need that at all.
I don't see, like, I think Gable is doing it to get the crowd to do it, and then when the crowd does it, he won't need to do it.
I don't know that the crowd's gonna. You think that's gonna be like a power up? Like he's dead in the ring.
I'm not saying,
and he's getting knocked out. And the crowd's
going to work. Yes, I think that's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to work because even this London crowd, which was not great, by the way.
No,
like you would think in Europe with the crazy crowds, this will be the place to get something like that over. It felt like they really, really tried, and you got some people doing the clapping. Yeah, you got some
40%
doing the chanting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the chant, but there was like 35 to 40% doing the clap, I would say.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's going to work, but it's 100% what they're trying to do. And I hope it works.
Okay, but do you like it, though, is what I'm trying to ask. I think it looks really stupid.
I don't like Gable doing the clapping, but I don't think Gable will always have to do the clapping.
I hope not, man.
Like it's Jay in the yeeting. He's not always yeeting. Like the crowd, he does it and the crowd does it, but he's not always doing it the whole time. And to your point on the clapping, Gable needs to start his hands up higher. He's got them down on his legs, so he's got to do the full like 180.
That's what, right. That sucks.
And it looks like an 80. Like, just keep your arms like normal height and do that, because you're motioning to the crowd to do a big wind up clap, and that's tougher.
So I think about it like when Queen played Wembley Stadium for
yes,
I forgot what was it, something
Live Aid.
Live Aid. I almost said Farm Aid, and I knew it wasn't Farm Aid, for Live Aid, right? So you hold your arms to the side like you're Chris Jericho, right, entering to the side, and then you clap them above your head.
Yeah,
and that's the motion. And if you can get the fans to do that, it looks better. Starting at your side and coming all the way up does not work.
That's the problem.
And it looks really stupid. So that's what I was trying to get across. I still don't like the concept with the arms straight out and then clapping over your head, but at least it's better. I don't know. Maybe they'll get there.
Yes. I think like we can't judge it now. We have to figure out if the crowd picks it up, because they're very much signaling to look. We didn't do the on the Cody Rhodes song for a long time. Like, it was at the very end of AEW, I think, when that started, and then it really got going in WWE. Like, these things can evolve, but they're really trying to tell you this is what we want everybody to do.
Yeah.
It may take a few weeks, it may take a month. If it gets to where I think it can get, I don't think it'll have Gable doing as much. So it looks awkward and kind of dumb early on, but I see what they're going for. And if they can get it, I think it'll be really cool. I just don't know if they're going to, based on the reaction from this crowd. As much as WWE hit them over the head with this is what we want you guys to do, we'll see in a couple weeks if it starts to grow. I don't know, but I still really like the song.
If they can get it visually, if he's down in the ring and needs a power up and the crowd starts doing it, it will look incredible.
Yeah.
But that's if they execute it. Don't forget, the Street Profits have been doing that thing. I don't even know how to describe it, where they hold both arms in front of themselves.
Kind of raise the roof, but not quite.
Well, no, because they're not pushing up. It's up and down in front of them. It's like they're humping something almost, to a degree, right? They've been trying to get that over for like the better part of a year now. They were gone for 6 months, but before they left and when they've come back, they've started doing that with a that thing, right?
Yeah.
And the crowd will not do it unless they do it. Now, when they do it, they get like 80% of the crowd going. But if they don't, no one does it at all. And that is what I'm concerned about here.
And we'll say this for WWE. They are really trying to make something out of Chad Gable here. And we have to credit them for that, because we said after the mask versus mask thing, are you just going to let him wither for a bit, or are you going to do something? and they're doing something. They're trying to give him a big entrance. I don't know if it's going to work, but the effort is there, and I appreciate that.
They are definitely trying. My question is, are they trying in the right way? And only time will tell on that. So we just spent a lot of time on that. We have to talk about the segment, okay? He reiterated, Gable did once he hit the ring, that he had more atonements to make. He invited Alpha Academy, babes, whatever they're called now, to the ring. Maxine Dupree had some Stacy Keibler vibe going on, but she had a scowl on her face. Gable regretted his actions toward them individually, putting over their positive attributes while saying he treated each of them in pathetic and embarrassing fashion. Otis got a little bit of a chant. As the camera focused on him, it became crystal clear this dude badly needs to shave his head as soon as possible. Otis, if you're listening, if someone knows Otis, get that damn head shaved. Give up. It's over. Gable specifically called him his best friend, said he's the best one the guy could have, saying he misses him after throwing it all away because he was so focused on winning the Intercontinental title. He gave a heartfelt apology, extended his hand, but as Otis wrangled with the decision, Dupree stepped in front of him to block the shake. Maxine tore Chad down, saying Otis and Akira Tozawa have huge hearts, but Gable is a liar who broke and embarrassed them. She said winning the IC title herself told her they never actually needed him, then or now. Maxine and Tozawa left. Otis hesitated. He eventually departed with them. This was not as fulfilling as an expected apology and huge babyface pop with acceptance would have delivered to the audience, but it was no doubt in my mind the better and more realistic storytelling, especially considering Dupree has been seen frequently with a heel in theory. I figured she would not accept, but the guys would. That would split them naturally. But it's completely reasonable and logical that she felt and responded the way she did. And I'm glad someone besides Kevin Owens has a memory in WWE. I can see a scenario where Gable ultimately saves them from a Vision attack or tries to convince them not to help a heel group like the Vision in the future. I cannot say that this was a step forward for Gable this segment, as I'm not that personally invested in an apology tour beyond the Luchadors, which he's already accomplished. I want this guy focused on a title now, but it was definitely a good segment with Gable and Dupree doing well on the mic, and at least Chad is apologizing. Unlike Roman, it's like 5 apologies to 0 right now, and some of them have gotten accepted. That's nice.
Exactly. A good segment needed to be done because I had like forgotten some of the things that Gable had done, reminding like Maxine on her knees and whipping Otis. I remember I'd forgotten about it and then remembered when we talked about it at the time, like that's incredibly heelish thing to do. Like it was kind of wild how heel he was going. So he did have to make amends for that. And it's nice when a babyface says, I'm sorry. Like that needs to happen more. Roman Reigns needed to do that. Like you have to do these things to fully buy in on the face turn. So it was a good step. Glad they did it. I was surprised at the way it ended. Like you said, I am interested. I also think we don't need Gable back with them. So maybe it's like a save and they're good, but they're not a team anymore and everybody can kind of go their separate ways. Because I think if they had just accepted the apology, it would have felt like, well, he's just back with the Alphas again when I don't think we want him there. So it may take another week or two to fully get that. But Maxine was really good here. Like on the mic, like, she did well too.
So you're good here also?
Yes.
Gable and Pierce were commiserating backstage, speaking about Penta when Dominic Mysterio came up saying he's a loser for not being able to get apologies from his so-called friends, and Dom should be the one next in line for Penta. Mysterio wanted an apology from Gable considering he's the king of the luchadors, and he apologized to all the other luchadors. Gable suggested they fight considering Mysterio was the dumbass who sent him to Mexico in the first place, and he started all of this. Again, good memory, but Dom obviously put JD McDonough in the way first. The absolute last thing I want is more Penta and Dom stuff. Been there, done that. However, the callback was nicely done. Gable does need other heels to defeat, and the Raw midcard, it's being featured nicely. We'll have more on Judgment Day later in the show. I will give this a good.
I will give it a good as well.
Dragon Lee fought Ethan Page, Rey Mysterio, and Penta each gassed up Dragon before the match, asking him to stand up for Lucha Libre and teach Page a lesson. Ethan got an in-ring promo after entering to his unnecessarily edited theme that was worsened for no reason whatsoever. Page promised that Lee would be the first bug he squashes while running through Raw and becoming champion. Dragon got his full entrance. He was shot out of a cannon with a tope cannonball. Page did some solid heel work, turning Lee's mask around, tying it to the bottom rope at different points. He booted Dragon's head off at one point in a terrific spot before taking the hanging double stomp. Lee followed by putting Page into the announce table with a hurricanrana and hitting an insane tope cannonball, rocketing both of them over the table. Dragon set up for Styles Clash, but Page gave him a low blow, literally with the back of his head. He dipped it down and then pulled it back up. This was in clear view of the referee. He followed with the Egoplex, which may be his new finisher, for the win. Absolute dog shit finisher change from Twisted Grin or Ego's Edge, the latter of which I assume was removed because Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley both used the Razor's Edge. But Twisted Grin was great, and I don't believe anyone else is doing a cutter like that. Even if you're changing it, a fisherman suplex as a finisher is horrendous, especially without a bridge. Maybe it was just in this situation because there was already a low blow. But I don't understand, if this is permanent, why WWE is cutting off so much of what made Page great. It's like they can't help themselves. He had a perfect presentation coming out of NXT, finisher, nickname, song, and they're just taking one bit and another away and away and away. This was an excellent match with a pure heel finish. I'm not sure how the referee should have legislated the low blow. I was open to it not being called a DQ. This was around a B+ due to the deflating finish, but it was good. It's nice that Dragon is getting to flash again. He's drawing reactions, but he's got to start winning matches.
Yeah, good as well with you. Good match. Got time. Did some creative stuff. Sort of surprised at the finish. It just feels like a lot of these guys at this spot, Dragon Lee, Ethan Page, Rusev, they're kind of just going in a circle here. I don't know what to make of Dragon Lee, man. He's never been my cup of tea, but every time they get him out in front of a crowd and he wrestles, he gets the crowd on his side. Mm-hmm. Now he kind of loses that by the next time he gets in the ring, and then he gets it back again. So I don't really kind of know,
because they're not giving him a storyline. They're not giving him personality. That's the problem.
No, his personality is friends with Rey Mysterio, right? Basically, another masked luchador. So it's tough, but I'll still give it good for everything.
Rusev was interviewed during a commercial break, putting over Page's victory before ranting against the luchadors. He was angry that fans cheer for Rey, who was not even good enough father to make Dominic a good person, and Chad, who should be embarrassed that he ran away to Mexico when times got tough. He said a lot more stuff, tore off his shirt. The fans were reacting to it after seeming like they were bored at the beginning. It was probably the best promo he's cut since that string of them when he initially returned that you loved. Dragon and Rey later got a similar interview during the break. Lee apologized for letting the fans down. Mysterio said he didn't, and Dragon promised that no one can turn off his fire. Rey said they have a plan to take care of the situation. This was less successful, but it was nice for Dragon to get extended mic time so he could work a little bit in that area. Sol Ruca got a promo package saying she's a thrill seeker both inside and out of the ring. She said that she loves challenging herself, getting back up when she falls, and making a fool of herself too. Most of all, Sol said she loves proving people wrong while being unapologetically herself. This was fine. It would have been nice if they actually had footage of her doing stuff outside of the ring to fill out the character and the personality, considering she mentioned that. This was something that should have aired closer to when she debuted, not after she already won the title. It's like, allow me to reintroduce myself. You're the champion. You should have already been introduced, right? I'm going to give it a light good because there was nothing wrong with it, and she said the right things. But again, just timing and placement. I don't get it.
The lightest of good, for the main reason of what she said was, we didn't actually really learn anything about her.
Yeah.
She just said a couple things with wrestling pictures with wrestling images in the background. Like, show her surfing, show her at Oregon.
Yeah, I want to see her at Oregon.
What she did with the Like we didn't actually learn anything about her. We learned a bunch of adjectives that can describe a person that is her. So it's better that they did it than that they didn't do it. But man, this should have been a million times better.
And I know not everyone listening to this show watches NXT. There was literally a taped promo from a dude named Tate Wilder on NXT last week who called himself a thrill seeker and talked about how he did a lot of crazy shit in and out of the ring, but he was really going to hunker down and win his first match. And it's like, I'm not saying it was identical. It was extremely similar. The difference is at the end, the guy showed off his hand. He has a pinky that's bent outward. So it was like, oh, wow, he really did hurt himself doing something thrill-seeking, right? Where's Sol Ruca climbing rocks or just doing weird planking things? They could have taped something outside of the arena of her planking and jumping off stuff, doing parkour of some kind. Where's footage of her, like you said, Oregon, surfing in California, stuff in Hawaii? Why aren't you showing us a picture of who this woman is? They had this whole gimmick. Her name is Sol Ruca, after all. They had this whole gimmick in NXT. She's a surfer and she does all this stuff. They've just stripped away the unique shit. And now it's pretty blonde lady who flips and has, a little granola attitude. That's like what she is now. They've lost it with her. It's really frustrating.
It's like they're just telling you she's Lita. She's the new Lita.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
Instead of showing us that she's the new Lita. And I don't need the Soul Snatcher to do that. I need outside the ring shit to show me that. Exactly.
Yes, I've seen her in the ring. You're showing me all the things I've already seen.
Exactly. Blake Monroe's fourth diary entry was focused on Julia, whom she noted was a prior opponent in Japan. She sarcastically congratulated her on making it to America, saying she may be intimidating, but her rage clouds her judgment, and Blake is better equipped for success. Same as I've said for the last few weeks. It's going to be the same that you've said. I know. For the last few weeks, Vera's coming. I'm cutting you off. But a huge improvement on her prior lazy vignettes. That's WWE's fault, not Blake's. Still an extended, ridiculous coming soon situation, interrupted by an insane 15-second TV appearance a couple weeks ago for no reason whatsoever. I'll continue giving this a good because they are quality segments. But if this chick doesn't debut later today, we're taping this on a Tuesday, by SmackDown in London, then what the hell are we doing?
Veer is coming, and she might be coming on SmackDown in London. She's English. We may finally be done with this. You gave it a good. I don't even think we can grade this.
I like the segments. I love the diary entries. Honestly, I do. I've liked all four of them.
They're fun. Yeah, all right. I'll give it like good.
It's at least showing her character as opposed to the first video packages, which were reusing NXT shit and was nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
It was like, here's a pretty woman stepping out of a bathtub. This is actual character development. So it's at least a step in the right direction. Julia got a video package, finally, for the first time, sharing some of her background with the main roster audience. She talked about her experience in Japan and Italy, saying SmackDown was going to London next week, the city of her birth, and it is time for her to end her partnership with Kiana James for good in the ring. This is what it needed to be conceptually, but it was far, far too short. You have a 3-hour show. You can't give Julia 60 to 90 seconds instead of 20, 30, really? Especially to build a scheduled match that's going to split with her partner. I'm not giving a grade here because it was nice that they did it, but at the same time frustrating, and it was too short to grade, so nothing.
Yeah, I'd forgotten she's from England, so she's born in London to a Japanese mother and Italian father, and then when she was 1, they moved to Japan.
And she wrestled in Japan for
if
majority of her
you're
career.
wondering about the name and the language barrier and all that stuff, that's the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something good. More from her talking. We need that if she's going to be what they want her to be.
100%. I hope she beats Kiana and gets her ass over to Raw as soon as possible. Solo Sikoa refocused the attention of the Tongans on winning the tag team titles. Tama Tonga told Sikoa he should stay backstage because his family business is messing with their family business, which could result in a distraction. Tala Tonga then spoke, I believe for the second time ever, agreeing that the bloodline is not their problem. They need to focus on winning the tag team titles. Tama debuted in WWE more than 2 years ago. Tala debuted exactly 1 year ago. This was the most agency either of them have shown the entire time they have been with the company. And frankly, it's the most interesting MFT have been during that time because there's legitimate consternation within the ranks. This segment alone, I gave it a light good.
Light good. I did not know that's what Tala Tonga sounded like. I shouldn't know that that's what Tala Tonga sounded like. Let's go back to him not talking because that he's a tall, intimidating guy. His voice is very much not. So let's just not do that again.
Oh, I disagree with it. Not everyone can be like Omos and Shaq. I mean, you can be a tall dude and not have
it didn't match the look. It took away some of the aura, so to speak. For a guy who's gotten some big wins here too.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Just do a Kane thing. Have somebody talk to him.
WWE Tag Team Championship, Damian Priest and R-Truth defending against MFT. War Raiders watched backstage. Truth did a John Cena hot tag. Tala chokeslammed Damian on the apron. One of his more impressive efforts. Generally, I hate that move. There's a lack of distance, and that reduces the visual impact. But in this case, for some reason, with a bigger guy, it worked. Priest came back with a bell clap on Tala, only to eat a snap neck breaker from Tama. Solo came down through the crowd late in the match. Tala distracted himself, so Solo had to shove him out of the way to eat a leaping strike from Damian. Tala had the upper hand, but got run into the post, and Truth rolled up Tama, who was distracted by that action, to retain the titles. MFT walked away from Sikoa as he tried to explain himself after the bell. They went all the way backstage on their own. This division is as dead as a doornail. and this match did not help matters. WWE took limited renewed interest in MFT from the segment before and flushed it right down the toilet immediately, compounding the issue with an effing roll-up after the WWE Championship match ended in a sunset flip. There was nothing about this to like. The champions are boring. There are no legitimate challengers. MFT was booked to look like easily distracted losers, and the match was horrific. Like D-level bad. But it was
so dumb.
And you know what?
That is one big pile of shit.
Yeah, this was a Paige Brie Bella type of tag team championship win. Like literally,
worse.
You roll up the big guy.
I thought it was worse.
It's like I've seen this so many times. Terrible. I like Priest and Truth together. I think they can do a lot. There's just nothing around them. The MFTs are nothing. There's nothing left in the tag team division. You can't even just get a win for your tag team champions, even with the solo stuff going on there. Just, I'm gonna very, very bad. Not quite an ugly, but a bad.
This right here is bullshit.
Sikoa found Fatu backstage, saying it's clear he was only on SmackDown so that Reigns could get into his head and cost MFT. He threatened to go over to Raw and mess with Roman in kind. That is a literal threat, and no one wanted that, but of course we discussed that already. Finn Balor backstage offered Truth congratulations on the title defense before they got into a comedic misunderstanding. Truth said he was excited to have defeated the Wild Samoans, but it was now time to get Balor a championship because it's Judgment Day for life. He hugged Finn tight as Damian interrupted, so Truth called him Chico, like Scott Hall. Priest said they can celebrate all they want, but he doesn't hang out with people he doesn't trust. Why the hell is this getting run back? Also, doesn't Priest have an active trust issue with Royce Keys? Why are we lumping Balor into this bullshit? The guy's start to 2026 was among his best stretches of the last few years. And now it's back to this shit? Really? Are we going to spend 2 months wondering whether they will be friends again? For what reason? Who actually wants this to happen? People are begging for Balor to get a real push. Whether it's the world title scene, whether it's the mid-card title scene, they want him to get a push. The idea of him going over to SmackDown was intriguing for that reason. I hope this was a 1 week backstage deal and nothing more. It's getting a bad this week. It will get an ugly if it continues.
I told you not to believe in anything coming for Finn Balor, a couple of weeks ago, months ago, whatever that was, when he left the Judgment Day. No, he
was the demon at WrestleMania, had a great match, won everything afterward. They moved him off the brand so he didn't get stuck in the Judgment Day vortex. Look, I didn't think the guy was going to win the world title. I just said it was at least within the realm when it had never been for the last 3 years. I apologize. Continue.
And he's back in his own Judgment Day vortex now.
Right back in. Yep.
It's just, again, it's just when you don't have a tag team division, you don't have anything else to do with your tag team champions. So you have the tag team championships being around the Vision and the Seth storyline. You have Truth and Priest now being with a Finn Balor thing because there's nothing else for them to do because the creative isn't good enough and some of these other divisions aren't deep enough. And that's the situation WWE put them in. I'd like to see them do something else. I'm enjoying the R-Truth comedy stuff with Priest right now, but I would also rather see Finn Balor do something bigger, but they're not. And we're about to move back to 2-hour SmackDowns. So here we are.
Indeed. Danhausen was back in his laboratory on SmackDown with The Miz and Kit Wilson hooked up. He was trying to revive them back to their modern selves. As that was failing, Los Garza came in furious that Danhausen stole their money without recursing the Knicks, as that resulted in them losing thousands of dollars in bets. Matt Cardona, who was called Zack Ryder by Danhausen, he came in to actually get his back. It got heated with him and Los Garza, and after the heels exited, Cardona touched Miz to see if he was okay. That led to Matt getting shocked, saying, "Woo, woo, woo," while shaking it off, and then you know it when asked if he was okay. So it seems like he too may be reverting character-wise. Not the best segment, perfectly fine to continue the storyline. I didn't find the quips to be particularly funny in this instance. I like that this is basically WWE's version of the Lake of Reincarnation, but it should be spread out more. We don't need to change the characters of 5 dudes in 1 week. I'll give this portion a light good.
Yeah, like good. It's fine. But it's got to be something more. And if we're just, like you said, if we're doing the same thing every week, is everybody just going to start reverting? I don't know. But for now, good.
When this ended, I wondered to myself, what if Candice LeRae pays Danhausen to fix Gargano and revert him back to Johnny Wrestling, where he finds his passion again? We talked about Sami Zayn being the one to do that. But this is another option given what they're doing with this.
Look at you thinking they're going to do something with Johnny Gargano, just like you think with Finn Balor. It's cute.
Both are very different, but similarly frustrating. I'll put it that way. Over on Raw, Dominic and JD demanded Danhausen return their $100,000 that they paid him last week, considering he did not curse Femi. He obviously refused, showing them what he bought with the money. When they suggested stealing all of it, like the new stuff that he bought, he cursed McDonough, who subsequently got electrocuted, touching a new orange box. McDonough sold the electrocution in 2 subsequent segments on Raw, with everyone wondering why he didn't just go see the damn doctor. Danhausen later came out during a break saying he might need celebrity security to protect his experiments, considering he's a sports hero and a celebrity. He played to the crowd about possibly becoming prime minister due to, I think, that dude stepping down earlier in the day. His crowd promo was great. None of you saw that, though. Backstage, even though conceptually that was the same as what happened on SmackDown, it was far less entertaining, probably due to the character differentials and the repetitiveness. So this was the other side of the coin. I gave SmackDown a like good. I'm going to give this one a like bad.
Same with you there. The Danhausen stuff within it's like WWE starting to kind of not quite know what to do with Danhausen within the WWE universe as well. I don't know if you saw him on Stephen A. Smith's radio show.
I did. I watched the whole interview.
He was hilarious. Like he's great at just kind of freewheeling and being quippy and doing these things. And when he gets out in front of the crowd in WWE, he can do that and it works. But like episode to episode, it feels like they don't fully know and we're just kind of doing repetitive stuff. JD doesn't even have an old gimmick within WWE to go back to.
He does.
So he
does from NXT, but not really. You're right in general.
Well, I'm unaware.
Not recognizable to the fans. It would not be recognizable to the fans.
So was it with his hair down?
No, he was like the ace, the Irish ace, and he was brutal. He attacked limbs and like tried to really hurt people and stuff like that. It was a whole thing. It wasn't great.
Yeah, so I don't. Again, Danhausen can be tough to figure out what to do. They find something and then they do something and it's funny, but then they're on to the next one and it feels like we're just going back and forth. All right, he's doing the cloning thing. What's that? All right, we did something. Now on to the next one. They've electrocuted
now 4. They've now electrocuted 4 people. That's the problem.
Yeah,
if it was Miz and then Kit tried to help him and it was also Kit, okay. Or if it was contained to SmackDown and he was doing something completely different on Raw, okay. The fact that it's crossing over now and it's that many people and they're all electrocuted and some of them are reverting and JD's just like shocked, like shaking, walking around. It's like, come on, you can do better than that.
It's not like you need Danhausen out there wrestling every week. You want him on TV, but I don't know. Maybe just throw him around other people like you used to R-Truth, and he doesn't maybe necessarily have a connective story because I don't think they can tell a connective story with him right now.
Well, think about last week. Like he got into the thing with Liv Morgan. It's like, holy shit, it's Danhausen and Liv Morgan. That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to see him interacting with Rhea Ripley. I want to see him bumping into Cody Rhodes, who like looks at him, he puts his hands up. He's like, yo, bro, I don't want none of that smoke. He just walks away. Like, let him do that stuff. Don't keep him in his laboratory every single week. That's part of the problem too.
It feels like they're trying to create a thing for him.
Right.
When he's kind of more better just playing off of everybody else's things.
His best segments have been backstage talking to Pierce and Aldis, and then wrestlers interrupt him and he gives them a stink eye. That's the interaction that's fun. And frankly, because Aldis and Pierce are straight men on the show, that makes it even more fun than wrestlers who themselves are characters. You know what I mean? So they just got to get it. It's not bad. We're just giving tips on how it could be a little bit better. I would say out of every non-debut moment, he's probably batting like 700. Like I think 7 out of 10 Danhausen segments are good.
Agree.
And that's good. That's pretty solid. Yeah. That takes us out of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and finally into our WWE Night of Champions Ultimate Preview. Silver King and Vintage, we are going to break down every single match on this card. There are 6, which is what WWE frequently does when it returns to Saudi Arabia. We're going to discuss every single match, any go-home build that we did not already cover for the matches. We will give you our predictions, what we expect to happen in WWE going forward. And at the end, we will give you a pre-show expectation grade for WWE Night of Champions, which is the final premium live event before the first ever 2-night SummerSlam. That will be August 1st and 2nd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A couple weeks before that, you will have that Saturday night's main event inside Madison Square Garden. So we're not going to worry too much about that MSG show. We'll be focused on Night of Champions and what it means for SummerSlam. Now, in terms of this card, like I mentioned, there are 6 matches here. Only 3 of WWE's 11 main roster titles, none from Raw, are on the line during a show called Night of Champions. WWE Vintage, for me, they had it right calling this King and Queen of the Ring. Really, this is what it should be, and I don't understand why they haven't figured this out. Really, as far as I'm concerned, and King and Queen of the Ring was a fine name, this show should be Crown Jewel. You have both tournament finals. They are literally getting crowns that have jewels on them, right? And then you have the men's and women's champions fighting each other for those rings. So you have 2 champion versus champion matches. You have 2 tournament finals, and then you add 2 other title matches on the show. That's a coherent, complete, and unique PLE. And then for your second Saudi show every year, separately, you actually run Night of Champions, and you have 6 title matches on that card. Does that not make so much more sense comparatively to what they are doing here with Night of Champions, 3 titles, 2 King and Queen finals, and then Crown Jewel with all those champion versus champion matches separately?
Well, it does, and especially because at least they haven't announced Crown Jewel yet this year. They haven't done one. They did the last one in Australia. And that was last October, it looks like it is. So the weird thing about the show is that for a while, we didn't know if it was going to happen, in Saudi Arabia because of the Iran war and all this stuff. And so there's been a lot of talk of SummerSlam and not a lot of talk of Night of Champions. I had to look up the card to remember what exactly is on the show and what is not, just because of how kind of weirdly placed this is. Mm-hmm. The name Night of Champions makes no sense. It was originally every championship on the line back in the day. Right. If you're, I would have done King and Queen of the Ring. You used to, like, Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle, that classic hardcore match, that was done at King of the Ring, mm-hmm. and it wasn't a King of the Ring match. Like, you can name the show after the tournament and have matches that are not the tournament.
Right.
So yes, it's a very weird name.
By the way, the last Night of Champions in 2025, it had 2 title matches. So this is actually a step up from 1 additional title match from the prior year. Let's get into it. 6-match card. We'll start with the low card and we'll move into what the expected main event is. United States Championship, Tiffany Stratton defending against Jade Cargill. We already went over the build for this and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Look, Cargill might be better holding the title because Stratton has done absolutely nothing with it. And Tiffy's popularity has declined drastically, as has her in-ring ability. Changing the title would also take Jade away from the main event for a bit, opening that up for everyone else. That's a positive. I just do not see this as a title change scenario, nor can I imagine Tiffy losing the strap to Jade twice inside of 7 months. Chelsea Green being part of this probably helps. Maybe Tiffy catches Jade in a pinning combination, and I'm okay with that as long as it's not a roll-up. You have so many other options, a crucifix pin, an O'Connor roll, an inside cradle. There are so many other ways, a seatbelt, that you can win a match with a pinning combination and not have it be a roll-up. So if Tiffy retains, I don't expect her to hit Jade with her full arsenal and win clean, super clean, on her own, no issue. But at least make it believable and legitimate. So I have Stratton retaining the United States Championship.
I'm going with Stratton as well. The most obvious thing is Chelsea helps even the odds, chasing away the baddies or whatever, and helps Tiffy get the win. And then they hug and they're friends afterward and all that stuff. Like, that's what they've been building. That makes the most sense.
Absolutely.
It's what I think is going to happen. We also know it's pretty clear that Jade and Charlotte are on a collision course probably for SummerSlam.
Absolutely.
And I would not rule out the idea that they put a title on that. A title that Charlotte Flair has never held before.
But a title
Jade take it off of.
But a title that match doesn't need which is precisely what happened at WrestleMania with Trick Williams.
No, I agree. But
you're right.
I could see them putting the title on Jade to then drop it to Charlotte. Charlotte hold that for a bit, the same way John Cena did back in the day for the U.S. title. I think Roman Reigns, had that, or the IC one time.
Roman Reigns won the Intercontinental Championship. John Cena and Daniel Bryan split the mid-card titles at a certain period of time as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's just like, it's a different thing you can kind of put on Charlotte's Hall of Fame resume. Again, that's like 2 steps away from happening, but I'm saying, I think it's possible. I think it's absolutely possible Jade wins this, but I am going to go with, Tiffany to win. Chelsea makes a save. Heck, maybe Charlotte makes a save as well. 2 people help Tiffany to help the 2 people who help Jade. That furthers us getting to Jade, Charlotte. So either way, I'm going with Tiffany to retain.
Could see that. You move that into a trios match, the heels win, and then you go Jade, Charlotte for SummerSlam. My hope upon all hopes, I love the idea, theoretically, of Jade and Charlotte for a mid-card title. Like, that is attractive.
Right.
More attractive for me and my sensibilities is Jade and Charlotte in a non-title match at a major show. We saw that it can work with Jade and Naomi. Okay? They did a non-title match at WrestleMania. Am I correct, right?
I can't remember.
I thought it was the first women's non-title match at WrestleMania one-on-one in
that sounds
a long time. So, I mean, you can look it up while I'm talking, but that concept should not be foreign. Just like Brock Lesnar should be able to fight in matches that don't involve titles that are important. Gunther should be able to do the same. Jade is definitely one of those people, and Charlotte is as well. So that is a match that does not need a title. You have a 2-night card. I would go Jade and Charlotte, no title. Tiffy, bubble her up against someone that matters. Give another mid-card talent a huge moment, and make that your match. At SummerSlam, you get 2 women's matches instead of 1. United States Championship, Trick Williams defending against Ricky Saints. Again, we already broke this down earlier. Barring unknown injury, there is no scenario in which switching the titles makes a shred of sense here. Not only is Williams doing great as champion, Saints, I'm not sure, you can't consider him over right now. Like, fans somewhat respond to him. They do not care much about Ricky, and this is not a swap you make. Someone who you put over at WrestleMania and has been doing gangbusters from a crowd standpoint since. You don't flip the title. A championship change will not enhance Ricky all of a sudden. This would be the wrong spot to do anything like that. Trick Williams retains the United States Championship.
Yes, 0 chance that Trick Williams loses this. I'm kind of surprised it's on a pay-per-view, but it's the kind of match that you put on a pay-per-view to get to 6 matches instead of, 4 or 5. So in that sense, I appreciate them doing that. The IC title or the US title, either of those being on a pay-per-view does not happen like that often.
No.
So I'll say it's a positive.
Yeah, I mean, that is a positive. It's a consequence of them doing, 4 and 5 match cards, and this one being 6. This is the first PLE that the US women's title has ever appeared on. It's never happened before. Okay. So they got on, which is cool. Now they replaced the planned match, which I presume was another Rhea Ripley, Jade Cargill match, but they got on. The US men's title being on here, to your point, is great because it and the Intercontinental Championship, they always section it for the Raw or SmackDown before or after, and they don't put them on the big shows. So it is cool that both of those titles are being defended here. We both have Tiffy retaining and we both have Trick retaining. Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker inside a steel cage. Rollins got a sit-down interview with Corey Graves on Raw. He said nothing has gone as planned in 2026 before putting over the Street Profits, Montez Ford for checking him, and Angelo Dawkins for giving him grace and confidence in a tough time. Rollins acknowledged the inherent risks of steel cage matches, but he said sometimes you got to throw all your chips on the table and figure out who you really are. Beating Breaker, he said, would allow him to put the vision behind him and focus on winning back the title he never lost. This was an extremely composed and effective interview segment, got a decent amount of time with multiple questions, and it went uninterrupted, which is not a given for wrestling interviews. In fact, they rarely go that way. I presume there will be a longer version available on the countdown to hammer all of this home even further. But overall, this was successful. It framed how Rollins has changed as a character. And Seth wearing all black, looking like he did here, that is the visual that he should be going with moving forward. No question about it.
Completely agree on all counts. Nothing really else to add.
Now, it was mentioned on Raw, and that came after we mentioned it on this show last week in this space, and that is the potential for Bronson Reed to return here at Night of Champions. Because there's only two ways this match can go. Either it is the end of the feud or it is the continuation of the feud. And I don't know that the winner actually matters to that end. By bringing Reed back in a open structure like a steel cage where the door can open, where someone can climb over the top, you get a huge return, a big moment, an excused loss for Rollins, and you allow the storyline to move forward, especially since Rollins clearly is still aligned with the Street Profits, who also have backing from Joe Hendry. On the other hand, if you don't bring Reed back and you actually allow Rollins to win, he could extricate himself from this feud. We can get over the whole Rollins Vision thing, and you still have the Profits and Hendry to battle the Vision in a legitimate feud for the short term before Braun Breaker gets pulled out of it. So those are the two options as I see it, Vintage. Which do you think is the most likely? Or do you think that there's a possibility that Breaker wins without Reed's involvement?
Like, it's a great place to make the Bronson Reed return. It makes sense for Braun Breaker to be the one to come out on top of this feud. Seth Rollins doesn't need it. But if Bronson returns and helps Braun win, that can't be the end of the feud, can it? Because then Seth will feel like it's up against him. He's got to do something. Right. Or maybe he loses, Bronson comes back, and the next night on Raw, something happens and he moves on pretty quickly. Like that'll have to be set up. But, Seth Rollins and SummerSlam, you're going to want to do something pretty big. I don't know if Seth Bronson Reed is it. I don't know if we need a fourth Seth Braun match. I don't know. Like, the team up with the Street Profits to face the Vision. What they would still be three members because Logan Paul's still hurt. So I don't know. I don't really know what Seth's plans for SummerSlam could be. And so that leaves everything up in the air. But I like the idea of Bronson and Reed returning here.
Yeah, I like it as well. And for context, he got injured late February with a distal bicep tear. That is 4 to 6 months for a full return, depending on the surgical aspect of it. I believe he had surgery immediately. Recovery these days, not just in wrestling, but in all of sports, they have sped this shit up to a crazy degree. What they can do with rehabilitation stuff, it is absolutely wild. So June is exactly 4 months from his injury. It would be the short side of a return, but if he's coming in, and especially if he's not doing anything that requires lifting, like maybe runs in the door and just trucks, Rollins over or something.
Well, I don't,
it is
like
plausible,
that's
is what I'm saying.
However, it's a cage match. And when it's a cage match, that's supposed to keep everybody out. So I don't see how he's going to get in.
That is ideally what is going to happen. Or what should be happening, in a steel cage
What if he comes to make the save, but the door is locked and you just can't make the save and he just sits there and watches?
He looks up, how could I ever climb that? Oh, I might as well just go backstage. Yeah, that's plausible in professional wrestling. What I see happening here, whether Reed returns or not even, is, I believe, coming out of Raw Monday night, the Profits owe Rollins a favor. And that is how I believe this match will go, one way or another with Reed. Meaning, Theory and Logan run down to distract and interfere. The Profits make the save. Rollins wins. Or that exact same thing happens. You believe everything's cleared. Reed returns. Breaker wins. Like, I think it's going to be a situation like that where there's interference. We think it's gone. It's pushed out of the, ringside area. And now they're actually going to finish a real match. And then something else happens. That's my expectation coming in. I got to tell you, coming into this, I had Breaker winning the steel cage match and I had Reed returning and being the reason for it. As we're getting closer, I don't know why. I'm going in a different direction. I'm going to pick Rollins to win this. I think they're going to try to end this feud.
I think so. I hope so. I would also like the idea that he loses to Braun, then fights Bronson Reed at SummerSlam and loses there too. And ultimately we close this with Rollins putting them over big time. Like, he's Seth Rollins. You can reboot him in a month.
Absolutely.
And it'll be fine. Like, if the whole point of the Vision was to bring these guys up, and it obviously has not gone the way they wanted because of all the injuries, just take a couple losses to end it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the worst thing.
You know what? You can take a couple losses and say, this was the vision that I had, that these guys would be on top of the company. Yeah. They beat me, and now I need to reevaluate. He goes away for 2 months. We know that Becky and Seth will often take some time off after major events. Goes away for a couple months, comes back, refreshed, and you have a new Seth Rollins who builds his way out to WrestleMania. Maybe we do ultimately get Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship at that big show, as opposed to SummerSlam, which we thought for a long time was a possibility.
Yeah, I like that too.
So you have Breakker winning?
I have Braun winning.
I like that pick. I do. I like I said, I switched my pick. I'll probably come to regret it, but I like the thought process there, and it would be awesome if Seth put over both of those guys and then took some time off. Let's move to the Queen of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, and these are going to be longer conversations. The Queen of the Ring final, Io Sky versus Liv Morgan, and we did get go-home content from Raw. Io got loud chants during an in-ring interview. She said she was extremely grateful to advance to the finals, extremely excited to beat Liv and become queen. Morgan obviously interrupted in all black leather with some of the shortest shorts you have ever seen. Of course, she did a full turn and everything, some Stacy Keibler vibes. Not the first time, by the way, that happened on WWE TV this week. But as far as Liv Morgan goes,
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
And for the first time in a long time, the Hey Now Championship is back on the line. Liv Morgan in this black leather getup against stablemate, Judgment Day member, Roxanne Perez in that animal print, similarly styled gear from, I don't want to say like a month ago or so at this point. Vintage.
A while ago.
Yeah. Roxy has not had many challengers of late. It's not saying that there weren't deserving opponents, but it just didn't necessarily happen here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We now have Perez defending against Morgan. Who walks out as the Hey Now champion in your eyes?
Liv Morgan regaining the belt for me. These have to be the shortest shorts I think she's ever worn. And that's saying something.
Well, remember the Daisy Dukes from like a year and a half ago? Those were like,
yeah, it was a different, it was like a different kind, just a different kind of shorts. And so, yeah, I had noticed she's looked a lot more fit the last like month or so.
Absolutely.
As you know, she's kind of gotten back into the ring, but I'm going with Liv Morgan.
You have her winning the title?
Yes, I do.
Nah, I can't do it. I think Liv's had...
Really?
Yeah, I think Liv's had 4 better looks already in 2026. She lost the title wearing something that just... this wouldn't even be in the same stratosphere of that prior look. And I think you're forgetting the reaction to Roxanne Perez showing up in what she was wearing on Raw, I believe it was, a month or so ago.
I know.
So I got to tell you,
I'm surprised because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for Liv to really make me notice because of what she said. Like the bar is extremely.
Her
high
bar is so high, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, and it reached that for me, which is saying something. Because so I'm surprised you didn't.
Yeah, I literally believe.
That's the rule.
I literally believe this was not a top 4, maybe not top 5 look that she's put out in 2026 like and that's not saying it was
it doesn't have to be though. It's just
I understand
it doesn't have to be.
No,
you're just comparing it to Roxy.
You're 1,000% right, but it's a progressionary title, right? So we had Stephanie Vaquer with a long reign, right? It took a lot to knock her off. It's going to take a lot, in my opinion, to knock Roxanne Perez off. And what Liv Morgan put forward, while impressive, did not get the job done. We have to agree, still Hey Now champion Roxanne Perez. Back to the action. Fans screamed with Liv as she did her introduction, but she got booed, saying she's better and more talented, only missing a crown from clearly being the top woman in the division. Morgan was focused on making history by being a double champion and queen. Io had a great line, asking if the crown would even fit on Liv's big, arrogant head. Then she ranted at her in Japanese, so Morgan took a cheap shot, only to eat a springboard missile dropkick to end it. You know what? Solid go home for the final. It might have been Liv's best segment since the Stephanie Vaquer attacks, and Io got her 2 lines off well. While I disagree with these two being in the final, we'll dig into that more momentarily. The concept of Ripley being threatened with her best friend and greatest rival in the final is interesting, and it would be really cool if she was there, like watching from a suite or something like that. It's just that she's on an entirely different brand. So it's not as hot as it would be if she was literally in the middle of this moving into the show.
Yes. I don't like the matchup, but as in terms of a go home segment for what it was fine. You had to have him face to face. It made sense.
Also, Liv ran into the Judgment Day clubhouse infuriated at what happened with Io after Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez were frustrated given their recent losses and how nothing is working out for either of them. Morgan seemed to understand Rodriguez's concerns, saying that they would focus on her beating Sol Ruca and becoming Intercontinental Champion after Liv takes the crown. She also had some plans for Dominic and for JD McDonough, but when Roxy asked about her, Liv basically said nothing and just dipped out with the guys and kind of ignored Perez. So that's kind of building toward the concept of, Roxy leaving the group, splitting. Money in the Bank is coming up in a few months. Does Liv hang on to the title? Does Roxy win the briefcase and cash it in on her stablemate? That is a possibility that is out there. In terms of this match, Liv and Io for Queen of the Ring. Look, WWE got both finals, as far as I'm concerned, completely wrong, which is why I'm feeling so blasé about these tournaments, despite both of them starting with legitimate promise. We'll talk about the men in a moment. As for the women in Queen of the Ring, WWE has booked itself into a no-win situation. There are two options here. Io beats the champion, who is in the finals, for no good reason. She would then have to challenge the same person in a rematch because she's not going to go after the other champion, who is her best friend.
You beat the champion to be able to beat the champion. That doesn't make any sense.
So she must beat the same woman she already defeated, when instead she could have simply beaten someone else legitimate in the final, like Charlotte. Yeah. This is setup that could have been done on any Raw at any time of the year for any championship match outside of a tournament setting. And yet it's supposed to be a big PLE match. Now, option 2 is that Morgan wins, beats the best woman on Raw and a top 2 challenger for her title, along with Stephanie Vaquera being the other one. WWE has established now that a Liv win would result in her facing Rhea to take both titles. Now, granted, that match has not happened one-on-one in 17 months, but that is a massive rehash and it's not at all fresh. WWE could have established that Morgan wanted to win purely for pride so she could choose her own challenger, which is what happens if a champion wins the G1 Climax in New Japan. But nothing like that has been considered or mentioned. So if Liv does win, and she does choose Rhea as stated, it's not only a rehash of a feud, it takes away a women's championship match at SummerSlam, though it would be an appropriate big stage for their match, considering their first feud ended on the Raw Netflix debut. Liv winning as champion is entirely unnecessary, as she's not the strongest woman on the roster. If this was Ripley or Bianca Belair or Lynch, you could probably buy it. That's why this is literally a no-win situation. And it is pathetic to me that WWE could not have figured out a better pivot for Liv as champion, given Stephanie has been out since April. They could have elevated another woman on Raw, brought in a fresh person from NXT for a short run until Vaquera returns. They could have bubbled up Zarya, who's friends with Rhea Ripley, Tatum Paxley, just tried something different, elevated Lyra Valkyria, brought someone over from SmackDown. Meanwhile, Io competes in the tournament and goes through a couple more SmackDown women advance, and it makes up for Liv and Stephanie not competing. And if you do that, you're golden. Instead, Morgan is thrust into a tournament where she does not belong because WWE could not figure out a different pivot for her. She has got to be the single worst booked champion under Paul Levesque historically. This is 2 reigns now where they have done absolutely nothing unique with her, injury or no injury. So that is my setup for this match, Chris. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I don't get it. I don't understand any of it. And you can't do Io Liv twice in a row, right? That makes no sense.
You certainly can.
So the only other option would be Rhea Liv, but you're not going to merge the titles for any reason. So you can't do that. So what are we doing here? How there has to be some sort of plan, right? Was it really just going to be 2 times in a row that Io fights her?
It seems that way.
It's one of the putting Liv in this championship is one of the strangest decisions WWE has made in years.
Liv winning doesn't mean the SummerSlam match would be title versus title. She would only be challenging for the WWE Championship, just as a point of order.
So she could lose that.
So she could lose that to Ripley
and keep her title.
But then you have Crown Jewel a couple months later. So are you rematching that where it's champion versus champion again? Or does one of them lose the title before then and it's a different match? Probably someone loses the title.
And Rhea's hurt and we don't know when she'll actually be good to go.
Yeah, they know. They know. And I would assume that WWE knows.
I mean, they might know. It may still be like touch and go.
It's possible, but I would assume they believe she's available for SummerSlam. Otherwise, they would have already taken the title off of her. I would assume. The other option, here's the other option, which we didn't really consider. Rhea's injured and like straight up not going to be able to compete for months. And they do what they did with Asuka at Money in the Bank. Io wins this tournament and she's given the WWE Championship as a consequence. She takes her friend's mantle, takes her title. There's no competition. She won the tournament. She's crowned champion.
Is it possible Io wins this and Liv loses the title before SummerSlam and she fights somebody else at SummerSlam?
That's absolutely plausible, yes. But who? It would have to be Stephanie Vaquer.
Who? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm gonna say Io wins because it's the least nonsensible option.
Agreed. I have Io winning this, but that is how flawed the booking is here. Because they didn't know Ripley was injured when Morgan was put into the tournament. If they did, and the goal was, so let's say they knew Rhea was injured. They put Liv in the tournament, the idea of her going to the final. That way, Io beat Liv, a champion, and was given a championship. Plausible. Like, I get it. And I think there's better ways they could do it, but I buy into that concept. But they did not know.
Liv should have never been in this.
But that's what I'm saying.
Never been in this.
That's what I'm saying. They did not know Ripley was going to get injured, presumably, in that period of time. And Morgan just didn't need to be in the tournament at all. She needed to be in a title feud on Raw. She should be defending the title on this show. And someone else should be in the finals here. Charlotte would be a great example. And there's no harm if Io beats Charlotte. That's positive. You want her to get a win like that. So, again, unless there is something we just don't know, this is extremely frustrating. And it's just one of two matches where that's the case because the King of the Ring final between Oba Femi and Jey Uso is similar in that way. Let's talk about the go-home. Oba opened Raw. The silhouette in the crowd, the timing of the camera work was literal perfection here. Unfortunately, the lighting got botched once he entered the ring. Conceptually, they've got it right. Now they just need to execute it. The crowd was so hot that Oba twice had to settle them down. Femi said becoming King of the Ring was his destiny, though it will leave him with a tough decision which champion to challenge. The temperature was clearly hot for Reigns and cold for Rhodes when each of them were mentioned. Jay interrupted out of the crowd wearing all black but still yeeting. Then he did an encore despite Oba protesting, while again out of breath on the mic, noting how many times he's been counted out when faced with adversity. Uso said he would climb the mountain that is Femi, grab the crown that belongs to him, and beat Rhodes at SummerSlam. Oba responded that if Jay shoots, he better not miss because he'll get destroyed either way. Femi said Uso is not the bloodline member he's worried about, obviously referring to Reigns. There was nothing wrong with this. Both guys were massively over. It should have gone deeper. That's what was missing. I thought Oba was going to go there with the comment about Roman. He certainly could have leaned into that fact just to assume interference or suggest Jay was doing his cousin's bidding, just to add a little bit more heat. Oba's demeanor the entire segment was great, though. He was just straight unimpressed by Jay as a potential threat, almost like he was a mosquito buzzing around that he was just trying to swat away so he could go home.
Yeah, it was fine, weird. We'll get into this matchup in a second, but it's a weird matchup. To go home for what it was, it kind of like Io Liv. It's like you can only kind of do so much at this point. They're both technically baby faces here, so it was what it was going to be.
So while Oba is fresh in this men's King of the Ring final, the other three, and I love that Io made it, trust me, okay? But the other three are all people who have been heavily featured for a long time. None of them besides him are fresh. And Jay, specifically, is easily the most stale out of all of them, considering he has moved back into the tag team division and wasn't even operating as a singles performer until this tournament began. Now, we've discussed potential concerns, more like considerations, with Oba immediately winning King of the Ring just a few months into his main roster run, but he is a far more legitimate and exciting option as King than Jay, who may still be over to a degree, but he is definitely not at his peak. While there is yet to be interference or distraction like we thought could happen in this tournament, that still lingers as a possibility. And a tournament that is supposed to be legitimate should not end in that manner. In this case, it would be Brock Lesnar interfering in the final, F5ing Oba 7 times with the referee knocked down, Jay covering him and getting the win, or something like that. On the other end, Jay is a former world champion and a popular superstar. So if Oba does beat him straight up, there is value in that. Further, if Femi dominates Uce, that could serve both as a harbinger for Reigns and a plot point for growing dissension in the bloodline, with Roman being displeased Jay could not get the job done and could not stick to the plan, winning and fighting Cody. I have absolutely zero, let me repeat that, zero appetite and interest in Jay versus Cody or Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam, particularly in a world championship match on that of all shows, that and WrestleMania. Now, it's possible either feud could work if Jay becomes king. I'm just stating how I feel today and sharing how I feel this has all been set up to this point. So, Vintage, before we make our predictions, what do you think about what I just laid out there?
I think it's, again, just an unnecessary matchup, just like the women's one. Like, Oba Brock is happening at SummerSlam. It has to. Mm-hmm. We know it is. They're going to do the rubber match. It's going to be at the second biggest show of the year in Brock's hometown. Throughout this tournament, Oba has been talking about Brock. So we know that's happening. Mm-hmm. So the options here are Oba wins and has 2 matches at SummerSlam, which is nuts. And like putting someone over to an unbelievable degree. You could have him beat Brock, lose to Roman, and he's got the excuse. But like that's still a crazy thing that I don't even think you need to do just yet. Or you have Jay beat Oba, and something that, I mean, Oba's not undefeated or anything, but that would really kind of dent him if that happens. You could have Brock interfere and do that, in which case, why do the tournament if the final match of the tournament is going to be decided by interference?
Exactly.
Which would be annoying. And so like, it's just a lot of bad options here that I just don't think they needed to do.
Well, you know what, Vintage? 2 matches at SummerSlam would be nuts.
All right. Want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts, because I cannot imagine a world, and maybe look, you guys have been listening to the show for a long time, many of you. You know Silver King is not inherently an optimist. Like, if I lean one way or the other, it's pessimism. I cannot imagine that Paul Levesque, for all of his faults as a booker that we've criticized, at the end of the day, he does get a lot of stuff right. I cannot imagine he is going into this show saying the fans will love it if the King of the Ring tournament ends with an interference finish and Lesnar costing Femi his opportunity to win a tournament that really, as the ruler, he should be winning. And the alternative winner is then Jey Uso, who now gets a world championship match at SummerSlam.
Right.
I just cannot imagine that they are not smart enough to know that that is a bad idea. So here's what Silver King expects to happen at King of the Ring. Oba beats Jay, wins the crown. During the ceremony, as he is getting the crown on his head, the scepter, or I don't even know what they do anymore. I don't think they do the cape anymore, but I think they do the scepter maybe. I forget. But as he's getting crowned by Paul Levesque, Lesnar returns, lays him out again, ruins his big moment. So you get the Lesnar return in the attack because Femi was keeping his name in his mouth, but it doesn't ruin his title opportunity. And then, as Silver King brought up, and I'll give myself a Barry Horowitz if it happened, a pat on the back. I think I said this like 2 months ago, or at least whenever the tournament started.
You called this like right away.
I did, and
I'm surprised you haven't brought it up more.
Well, yeah, because I can't believe they're going to do it. But at this point, it seems like the only actual option. I think that Oba Femi is going to wrestle twice at SummerSlam. And I can't tell you the order because it could go where he fights for the World Heavyweight Championship on night 1 and then defends it against Brock Lesnar in a retirement match on night 2. Or you swap it. He retires Brock Lesnar on night 1 and goes for the championship on night 2. Today, as we stand, I would go with the latter booking because I believe you have him beat Lesnar. He's really strong. You figure out a way for him to lose the title match because otherwise he wins both of those. And he's put in this position where it's like, not that it's impossible to defeat him, but he's reached the mountaintop. You win those 2 matches in consecutive nights. What else is there for him to achieve, right? So that is my belief long-term. Short-term, I have Obafemi being crowned King of the Ring, and maybe my fingers are crossed when I'm saying that, hoping it happens.
My pick is exactly the same thing. I think Oba wins King of the Ring. He doesn't get attacked in Saudi Arabia. He gets attacked maybe on Raw on Monday.
Okay.
Either to open or close the show or something like that. You give Oba the moment. You spend the weekend calling him King Oba, the ruler, the crown. Because if he's going to get attacked by Brock, it's going to immediately just nerf the winning of the King of the Ring in the gimmick.
Yeah, it does.
You got to let him have at least a couple of days or a week of him being king before Brock attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
Brock eventually attacks him. You open up night 1 of SummerSlam with Brock and Oba on ESPN and Brock winning and retiring Lesnar there.
Oba winning and retiring
and then
Lesnar.
Yes, Oba winning and retiring Lesnar. Then you close night 2.
That's the move. Yeah.
With Roman Oba. And Oba fights valiantly, but loses, likely thanks to the help of the bloodline and whatnot, helping Roman win. And we come back around WrestleMania for the rematch.
You cement the bloodline going heel. You cement the bloodline going heel by helping Reigns against Femi. In a similar fashion, though they were babyface. I don't remember if they were faces or heels at this time. Actually, they were heels at this time too. Similar fashion to the SummerSlam where we thought Brock wound up retiring retroactively. The last man standing match where they just piled all that shit on top of him and Reigns stood on the table, remember? And he was like flexing at the end and then Brock climbed into the ring that he had moved with the tractor. Like you do a similar finish to that where it takes so much to keep Oba down. Maybe you even do last man standing so he doesn't get pinned or something like that. You do that. That is how he escapes without winning the title. And yes, you can bubble that back up for WrestleMania. No question about it. Or just the future.
That's my pick. So we got the same thing. We're
both
Oba winning.
We're both on the optimistic side, which is crazy for this show. But
the case for Jay winning is
none. There's no such
Cody.
Case.
I'm just saying, like, what's that other option? Jay Cody or Jay wins and turns on Roman, and we run Roman Jay again, like we did 2 or 3 years ago at SummerSlam, which didn't work.
You cannot repeat that.
They've laid the seed. They've laid the seeds to make you think that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not ruling it out. All the options we laid out here are possible. We're just both going with the most optimistic one, which is Oba winning and doing 2 matches at SummerSlam.
Which is also the most logical one at the end of the day. Even though the 2-match concept seems odd.
I don't know if it's logical. It's
based on where they are now.
It's the highest upside one. It's the highest upside.
It's by far the highest upside one. No, I would say the highest upside is Oba. And then doing the double booking. What do you think the lowest upside is between Jay Cody and Jay Roman?
Jay Cody is the lowest upside.
Because there's nothing to it, right? Like, Jay wouldn't win. You know that going in. At least with Jay and Roman, even though their first match sucked, or their last SummerSlam match, I should say, sucked, there's at least a storyline that they can tell there. He is dissatisfied with Jacob Fatu and what's happened there. It's really, that whole storyline is a rehash of Solo Sikoa in that same spot. So I can't imagine them running that back. I can't imagine Jay and Cody being a major match at SummerSlam. It's got to be Obafemi striking while the iron is hot. And the other thing that we can say before we get out of this, move to the main event, the one positive that has threaded the line of WWE from the entirety of 2026, but whenever he made his debut on TV full-time, Obafemi, is they have not booked him incorrectly. There was like a 2-week span where he did that open challenge and like it didn't happen one week and it was a squash one week. And we're just kind of like, is this really all they're doing with him? That was the floor. That was the lowest point. That was the valley. Everything else with Femi has basically been peak. It's been one home run after another. And they did the Brock Lesnar deal right, the first match, the second match as well. Like, they've really nailed it. So if we're going to be optimistic and believe that they understand what they have with someone and something, Obafemi is the person to be optimistic about. And I believe that's why you and I are on the same page here.
Yep, agree.
All right, let's move to this main event, which we will not speak about as long as the prior two matches, I assume. WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes defending against Gunther and Sami Zayn in a triple threat. Now, we obviously laid out this entire match in the main event of this show, so there's not much deeper to go here. There are two primary questions to answer. First, does the title change? And second, if so, who walks out as champion? Because I believe we all know there are three specific potential outcomes to this match. Number one, Cody pins Sami, retaining the title without beating Gunther directly. 2, Gunther pins Sami, winning the title without beating Cody directly, continuing the Cody and Sami feud, getting both away from the title. 3, Sami pins Cody, stealing a win from Gunther, angering his friend, taking his first world championship in Saudi Arabia. I cannot imagine any other outcome besides those specific three. What about you?
I agree. Those are the three options.
So in terms of breaking them down, Sami winning would be the most interesting. Can we agree on that as well?
Interesting, yes.
And as I said on last week's show, WWE and fans really cannot let perfection stand in the way of good. Zayn winning the title in Saudi Arabia, even as a tweener heel, at Night of Champions, not at WrestleMania or a larger show. Not in Montreal, not at WrestleMania, whatever the case might be. That is not perfect. It could still be real good. And it doesn't preclude him from winning the title, dropping it, and then winning it as a babyface at a WrestleMania, which is not until April. I mean, we have plenty of time for him to win, have a 2-month run, lose, and then be motivated to win it back as a babyface. So that's the most interesting. If the title is changing, let's see if you agree with this as well, Gunther feels more likely as a new champion.
Yes. I mean, more likely, yes, because he's been a world champion before. Yes.
Okay. The question is, if Sami or Gunther does win, to what end are they doing that? In other words, what would the SummerSlam match be? That is the one thing I can't figure out. Is it Sami and Cody? Is it Gunther and Cody again? Like, if they change the title, what is the SummerSlam match? If they don't change the title and it's Cody, what is the SummerSlam match?
It's whoever wins against whoever didn't get pinned in this match.
So the outlier, the challenges for the title.
If Sami pins Cody, it's Sami Gunther. If Cody pins Sami, it's Cody Gunther. It's whatever.
So this is staying firm, you think, all the way to SummerSlam, basically.
What do you mean by staying firm?
Meaning the world title picture is not opening up besides these three guys between now and SummerSlam.
I don't think so.
And then let me ask you one more question, and then we'll do our predictions here. If Gunther wins, does he hold the title all the way until a WrestleMania where you have Sami bubble himself up as a babyface challenger to take down the same guy he beat for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania? To me, running that back would be a non-starter. What do you think?
You think Gunther winning the title here and losing it to Sami at next year's WrestleMania in Saudi is a non-starter?
Because they already did that feud for a lesser title.
You mean just running back the WrestleMania 40 feud?
Yeah, I'm saying it's bad is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's bad. A bad idea.
I think you can do it. I mean, that storyline of WrestleMania 40 was Chad Gable most of the way anyway.
That was the problem.
Really Sami.
Yeah, he was the replacement. There's
right,
more storyline with Sami and Gunther here than there was going into WrestleMania.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that would be bad or undoable.
Well, that's why it's a question. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm asking your opinion. Okay, so now that we've laid out the options, Vintage, who do you think walks out of Night of Champions as the WWE champion?
So, here's where I'm starting at. Whether it's Night of Champions or whether it's at SummerSlam, I think we're coming out of SummerSlam with Gunther as the champion.
Completely agree.
Now, where does he win it? Does he lose it here because Cody pins Sami and then Gunther pins Cody at SummerSlam? Or is it Gunther pins Sami here, fights Cody at SummerSlam, also beats Cody to retain and move forward going there. So those are the options here where I think I think Gunther is we're going to have a matchup of whoever doesn't get pinned.
Can I give you a third option?
Champion to SummerSlam.
Third option?
It's my baseline.
Can I give you a third option?
What's that?
Sammy walks out of Night of Champions with the title. Faces Gunther at SummerSlam. Gunther beats him.
So it's Sammy pinning Cody,
Correct.
Then fighting Gunther?
Correct.
It's possible. That is a possible third option.
Because you get both parts of it done. You change the title. You cost Sammy the title. He has a reason that he lost the title, Gunther. And then he works the remaining 8 months to get back to Gunther.
Yes. You could do that.
But do you want 2 Sammy championship wins in Saudi Arabia? That's the other question. Or do you want to save that for WrestleMania?
I don't want Cody winning the belt at Mania next year.
No, for Sammy. Do you want Sammy to win as a heel at Night of Champions and then win again as a babyface at WrestleMania?
If Sammy wins it here, he's not coming back to win it at Mania. That's it.
Well, that's what I
think Sammy's only winning this title one time.
Okay. Because you can do a short win. He loses it and it just crushes him. Yeah. And then he works 8 months to get back to the guy who took it from him. That's what I was getting at.
If you don't think if they should know right now whether their plan is to have Sammy win the title at Mania next year or not. And if it's not, then have him win here.
Okay.
Like that would be the place to do it. But I'm going to go with Gunther pins Sammy here, wins the title. Cody gets an understandable rematch at SummerSlam. Gunther retains against Cody. And that we eventually get to Sammy Gunther again at WrestleMania next year. We don't need to project the whole thing out, I know. But my pick here is Gunther wins, pinning Sammy.
I completely agree. I thought you were going to go in another direction. I thought you were going to pick Cody, honestly, retaining the title. I
mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's Cody. So, like,
you have to go in.
You got a good shot when you're picking Cody.
It's always a minimum 51%, even in a triple threat. It's a minimum 51% chance that Cody retains the title in any situation or wins the title in any situation like this.
But just like Gunther's been taking so many losses and weird things the last couple of months. It had to be for him to come out of all of this with the championship. It just may not be here.
And it creates a way to have him win the title without directly beating Cody. That way you still have that as a major match on a major show where Cody didn't lose clean to him. They fight. And then Gunther at SummerSlam has to go over Cody like clean and definitively, I guess is the better way to put it. Maybe not clean, definitively. Where this guy who retired John Cena, AJ Styles, Goldberg is your world champion, wins or in this case retains at one of your biggest shows and is now your big bad through the end of the year into WrestleMania next year. To me, that's the way you got to do it. And you also need a big title change for this show because I don't know that it's going to be that exciting otherwise. Now, it may be. Maybe we do get a return in the steel cage match. Maybe Io and Oba both win those finals and we're thrilled about it. But guess what? That's a lot of baby faces too. And if you have all those baby faces winning, then a heel champion emerging. And also, even beyond that, Cody does not need to hold this WWE championship. A, he is so much better in chase. B, we just got off of him holding it for a calendar year and then half of a year basically because he won it back at SummerSlam and has retained it. Well, he did lose it briefly to Drew McIntyre, but he's basically been champion for, what do you want to call it? Like 22 of the last, what vintage? 26 months. Cody's been world champion on the SmackDown side. Yeah. Like, you got to do something different with him, especially if you want to bubble him up for something major. But I would love if Cody did not hold the title all the way through next year's WrestleMania. Like, give him 8 months, 9 months away from the championship.
And to what I've been saying for months, if you were going to have Gunther retire Goldberg, retire John Cena, retire AJ Styles, he had to get up to the championship spot. That's the only place to go after that. You've built him into something. Mm-hmm. Now give him the belt and let him go on a monster run. Now this has taken longer than I've wanted it to, but ultimately if we get there and he's the champion for 8 months, 9 months going into Mania next year, that's ultimately where you want to be for then someone to take him down at the next one preferably not Cody, who you can just establish there. That's the point of wrestling.
You are spot on right there, Vintage. All right, we have gone way, way longer than we expected on this episode. There was a lot to talk about, and clearly we were booking forward toward SummerSlam, not just talking Night of Champions. But quickly, on the way out, Vintage, what is your pre-show expectation grade for WWE Night of Champions?
Gonna go A-, 92. I like that it's 6 matches. Really like that. I like that we have 3 titles on the line and 2 number 1 contender spots. It's a very, very meaningful card. Lots of important stuff is happening. A lot of the booking things, like we said, are a little bit weird. Maybe that's just because we couldn't easily pick a winner. And maybe when it's all said and done, we say, hey, maybe all this booking worked out, and that grade goes up to an A. But I'm going to go with an A-.
Yeah, I'm right with you at an A-. I'm going to be a little bit lower, 90 out of 100. I completely agree. 6 matches on the card gets me excited. It does feel important. There are 4 matches with like legitimate stakes beyond the fact of a title or a crown or anything like that. It's the 2 United States Championship matches where, frankly, I just wish there were better options in those spots. I believe, if I saw correctly, both the King and Queen of the Ring finals are going to be airing in that first hour on ESPN, which is interesting.
Yeah, they're opening with EO Live, I believe they announced.
Yeah, so that match will probably go long, which means the OBJ match, unsurprisingly, will probably go short at the end. That gets us out of the first hour, and then they'll probably go back and forth between the other major matches and the U.S. title matches. I don't know that I love that formatting. I understand why they front load it, but I don't know. Those matches should be toward the end of the show, in my opinion. Regardless, A-, I'm at a 90. There's a big ceiling for them to exceed it for me, a little bit smaller for you, but we, of course, will have your final grades for WWE Night of Champions, along with complete results and instant analysis in a podcast Saturday early evening, right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to performance-enhancing audio. Between now and then, we will be back on Thursday with an ultimate preview for NXT Great American Bash, AEW Forbidden Door, and TNA Slammiversary. And there will be a singular instant analysis show for at least 2, if not all 3 of those, probably Monday, early afternoon. Again, make sure you subscribe to Getting Over. Also, on the way out, make sure you remember,
It's all about the 5.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Follow us on social media at Getting Overcast for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. We will do our best to read them on the air. Hit the link in our profiles to join our Slack channel, shop at Fanatics, and support the podcast as well. Please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
hope you do too. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio. You'll get news, analysis posts, and much more. Support us. Get extra content. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. That wraps it up for today. For Vintage Chris Manini, this is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.